God bless you, Monica Church. Here you are.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I saw the best one yet. It was everybody was putting up their on, the interwebs on Instagram or whatever, pictures of their like gingerbread houses. And this person had a gingerbread dumpster with like fake fire coming out, and it said 2025.
Oh, you gotta let it go.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go. 2026 is gonna be a great year.
2026 is going to be a great year.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start off. I got a little present for you, a little New Year's present. So
your presence is the only present I need, Monica Church.
Well, that you haven't seen it yet, so just calm down. So as part of the New Year tradition, you clean out your closet, or your old clothes. Does not bring me joy. Well, my 93-year-old grandmother did such and said that I needed to come remove the boxes that I've been storing at her house since I left for college when I was 17. So I said, okay, I'll go clean them out. Well, I mean, there was all sorts of stuff. My stuffed animals, my dolls, old clothes, piggy banks. I don't know, whatever. I was saving it. But one thing I did find.
Oh my God. This is from high school?
Is a little jujitsu troll from the 90s with a little black belt.
Bless you.
For you and I have shared a lot of 90s music love, and nothing is more 90s than Trolls.
Dude, yeah. I remember these so well.
Oh.
I had
ones?
I had one that was this size that had like blue, like this cobalt blue hair that was just beautiful. And I remember that guy. I got him when I was like 15. It's like, that was it. Mid-90s, right?
Yes.
Bless you. Thank you for this.
Yes.
Thank you for this. I got a lot of artifacts in this room, and this is going in a prime spot. I don't know where, but we're going to put him right there.
He's got a little gi on.
He's got a little red gi on. My first gi. So I started jiu-jitsu when I was right out of college. So I was on the rowing team at Cal for 4 years and got absolutely obliterated. It was a very rough time for Matt, but it was a great. As I look back on it, like within my life story, it was a wonderful rite of passage where like, okay, you're a man now. Like I went in like the sloppy, high energy, well-intentioned 18-year-old and came out like chiseled out of stone. And it was because of my time in rowing, but it was very, very rough. Right. So I graduate, and then you have this big hole to fill in your life. It's like, what do you do? Like you focus, all day, every second on this pursuit, and you have nothing. And my rowing coach was like, hey, there's this jiu-jitsu school around. I'm like, I ain't into karate. He's like, no, it's not karate. It's, like wrestling around. I'm like, I did wrestling in high school, man. Like, I don't know. And I fell in love with it like instantaneously. And he bought me my first gi as a gift. It was right around my birthday. And it was a big red corral gi. And it was beautiful, like dark, very much like this, minus the glitter, but like this dark, deep red. I got a picture of it somewhere. I'll have to whip it out.
You got to add that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, 2025, this is the last day. You and I get to share it together. Again, thank you for coming. Hit me with some highs and lows. Hit me with memories.
2025 was wild. We did the craziest
These gin and tonics
things.
are wild, by the way. They're quite
really
delicious.
Good. It's really good. It's really great.
I just want to know what it would take for me to get these glasses again.
Squeezed limes in there was
fresh squeeze.
Yeah,
the lime is the play.
Yeah,
oh, it's so good. I'm sorry,
lime juice with a side of gin.
Yes.
No, we did the craziest things, the things that they tell you never to do at the same time. And I changed jobs and ran for office and moved all, within a very short amount of time during this last year. And that was insane.
That's a lot.
It was. And, we had not moved since, I don't know, I guess our daughter was like 2. And that's moving in a totally different reality.
Yeah, right.
When you move with a child who's a teenager and you've now acquired, decades worth of whatever, it was a lot. And I both love and hate my realtor. You know, I mean, it's like that was like a whole nother relationship I didn't know I was going to have. Yeah, that was wild, but
That is wild.
a lot of learning. And
was it a positive move?
oh,
Like, were you guys getting into a better spot?
We're so happy. Like, we are in our forever home, and we love it, and it's exactly what we wanted, and that's why we did it. Actually, I remember listening to the news, and it was something about the CHIPS Act, and the mayor was doing an interview about how many jobs were coming for Micron, and they're coming like 5 years, and these are union jobs. These are, you know, high paid, thousands, you know, 10,000 jobs, people that are going to come with their families and everything else. And I looked at my husband, I was like, if we don't move now, like, we're already priced out of our neighborhood. Like, if it's not now, it's never. And we've just got to figure out a way to get to where we want to be. So it was a great move. We love our home. I mean, now it's an old house. We got this coming year, we've got a roof and some siding. That'll be our summer vacation.
Yeah, if I may throw out a suggestion, a lot of times roofs are probably like you're probably not redoing the foundation, okay, but you're gonna have to redo a roof, right? Like every 25 years, whatever it is. Install 5 solar panels, and what you can do, amazingly, is you can wrap the cost of the improvement of the roof into the solar loan. And you also, if it's part of the solar, you get whatever rebate you get from the federal government or state government as well. So say you have
I think we just stopped those rebates today.
That's, you should have locked it in. But forget the rebate. But the point is, like, if you got a roof that costs, you know, like $25,000 or $50,000, you can normally you wouldn't be able to get a loan for that. But if you wrap it into a solar project, you can like add on $10,000 worth of solar and then get the loan for the roof too. A little sleight of hand with saving capital. Just FYI.
Do they do solar? I don't know that I've ever seen solar on a forever roof. I'm sure they do.
A forever roof? What do you mean?
Yeah,
like a metal roof?
Metal roof, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They do it. It's the same as installing it on something else. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're just going to be just fine.
Just fine.
Just fine. Are you going to do a steel roof?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
it's
exciting
our forever
times.
Home, forever roof.
You know,
I want to do it again.
Here's something interesting that about older homes. I've always lived in older homes, right? Because, you know, obviously living in the Bay Area, you don't have they're not building a lot of new homes there, right? So
North End's the same way.
Right. Very much so. And the house we were living in before we moved to Idaho was built, I think it was like 55, right? It was totally like people moving into the area, Kaiser shipyard, all of these things. And they're just built these rectangles, right? 3-bedroom, you know, 2-bath, little square things. And they, you know, people had added onto it. So this house had been like Frankenstein, you know, like added on here, added on there. Yes. There was a captive bedroom. So to get to the 4th bedroom, because when we bought it was 4 bedrooms. To get to the 4th bedroom, you had to go through the 3rd bedroom. You know, like
I've lived in these houses.
Yeah, exactly. You get it, right? And what was really cool is there were all of these artifacts it was a cut and fill lot, so it had its hill in the backyard. And my kids would go up there and play, and they'd find little toys. They'd find like little Legos, or they'd find like, there was this little travel chess set. And so it was like these artifacts of these lives past and gone, this time, the age of the house it was always curious to me, like, who was the kid who used to play right here in this dirt?
Oh my gosh.
And it was a fun.
I actually had the exact same experience in a house over by the co-op in downtown Boise. We rented it when we first moved back to Idaho. And the same thing, you know, it started as a block and then been built on. So you could like roll a marble and one, you know, it would go this way over here and it would go this way. And you'd have to go through one bedroom to get to another bedroom.
Yeah.
And we ended up finding behind this door that had been put in there as a closet, these names. And lo and behold, I met the woman who had owned the home like 50 years prior. And that was her youngest daughter. They had actually built that little tiny spot and they had signed it inside there. And we had removed that panel and there it was. And they came over and looked at it and took pictures. So that's so sweet.
I love that.
Yeah. And I loved that house, but the historic districts, I mean, that's a whole nother, and our tree was part of the historic district, and that tree was massive, and the roots.
Was it an oak? What was it?
No, it was some kind of, not
like
nectarine.
A pine or something? Nectarine.
Yeah, like
it was a fruiting tree?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
And they would just like drop everywhere. Like not a peach tree, maybe, maybe a nectarine. I can't even
Could
remember.
have been plums or something.
But I mean, it was awful. Like you couldn't grow anything because it's root structure. And then of course it was always dropping.
And it was
fruit.
historic.
And it was part of, it was part of the historic district. So you couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah, that stuff's problematic. But so with the older houses, like the one we used to live in, I fixed up. Like that house has my fingerprint on it forever, right? Because the captive bedroom, I added a wall, so there was actually a door into the third bedroom, and then it just became like a long hallway. We moved the kitchen from the front of the house to the back of the house so we could look out as we're washing dishes and our kids are playing in the backyard. And I moved the kitchen, like I built the other kitchen, right? Like had to rebuild an exterior wall, like all of these things, right? And so I had this gigantic shop of tools, and because that's what you need when you're doing all that stuff. When we moved here, we moved into a brand new house. We got the certificate of occupancy literally as we were in the car on the way here. And that part of me, because of the way that we were living, that part of me was withering and dying because there was nothing to fix. There was nothing to fix. There was no space to build. There was no need for it. So it's kind of like.
So you found Idaho politics? They're like, hold my G&T.
I was going to say we moved into an older house finally. We moved as well. And dude, now it's like it's back. It's this beautiful part of me that was withering and dying that is now finding representation in the physical world again.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm way more into older homes. Idaho politics, man. They're hilarious.
Also needs a little fixing once in a while. A shop full of tools.
What a crazy. I think it's awesome. Like, I think it's so cool that, here you are. You're an elected official. We're sitting here enjoying a beverage. Like, we can talk about things. We can, and people don't agree. That's great. Like, you shouldn't have everybody in agreement. You should have tension, I don't know. Like, it's just wild to me.
I mean, I really like it. But Idaho is Idaho. It hasn't changed that much.
Do you feel hamstrung and constrained as an elected person?
No. Funny you asked that. So my best friend was recently in town, and when she had been here this time last year, I had just been elected, and we were going to go to a New Year's party, and I was like, I don't know if I can. Is that a thing I can do?
Is that kosher?
I was, because you don't know. There's no rule book. There's nothing.
There's no rule book.
And I mean, maybe there is in other states. I don't know. I only have one frame of reference, but I was very unsure as to what the protocol was. But very quickly, I realized that I was elected based on who I am. I am who I am, and that's okay. And so this year, we went to the party. She left yesterday, and it was fine. She even said, she's like, "Are you going to go this year?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go."
Yeah, I'm going to go.
It's fine. I don't think I have misled anyone as to exactly who I am. And if we want to go and dance, I think that's a great thing to do.
You can dance?
Only
I can't.
With my elbows. 90s ska
Like the Elaine
rave dance. Oh, yeah. Yes.
The Elaine dance.
It's about that bad.
Yeah, but
I like it.
I don't find
Elaine
great
likes
joy. Elaine likes it, but Elaine's a fictitious character. We're real people. This guy is a real person. I don't care for dancing at all. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like I don't find that to be this expression where I'm like, oh my God, I feel so free.
Yeah, it's the dancing. I'm not great at it.
Not great, but you like it.
Well, I like the community.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
a community.
It's a community.
It's not. I'm not doing it for any other purpose.
Yeah. So it sounds like your 2025 highs and lows were the same thing. Like the high and low is moving.
Yeah.
The high and low is like getting elected or serving the legislature.
Changing jobs, learning new things. It was great. I mean, it was great all the way around, even if it was crazy.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
But I've never been I don't fret over things in the past. That's not my thing. Like, once laid, once played.
What?
Once laid, once played.
I've never heard that phrase.
Really?
It's good. Yeah, no, I'm a very sheltered guy.
Okay. Okay.
It's true, because I don't, from like the age of 22 until 39 when I moved here, all I did was hang out with kids that needed SAT help.
Well, now I'm wondering where that comes from. We always say it in my family when you play a game. So let's say you're playing a board game
Sure.
and you do something and you're like, oh no, and you want to take back that move. No, once laid, once played. Like that's
Oh,
it.
it's like chess, moving chess.
Yeah.
I was playing some chess last night. Big fan of chess.
I have a chessboard in my office at the Capitol now.
Are you a big chess fan?
No,
Was it a
trying.
gift?
No.
Oh, I have one here. We could just whip it out right now. We see how good you are.
Yeah, I'm not. I am not, but I want to learn.
I'm a big fan of chess. It's one of those things when I was trying to get my life together.
Can
I'm
you
like,
talk during it?
yeah, like talk and drink beers and hang out and play chess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what a buddy of mine,
not
Ross,
quite.
came over and like we played chess and drank beers last night.
Okay.
Yeah, in my now barn. Because like my barn's pretty slick. You should swing by and see it. It's pretty tricked out. I think I sent you pictures. Yeah, with the garland. I made garland.
Yeah, that's
fresh
right.
garland. Yeah, so I got all the.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
not a
Like
barn.
it's a separate house, right? Like, and I got to insulate it and everything. But I made garland from scratch, which I had never done before. I had to get like 100 feet of green.
Garland.
What?
You make garland from scratch?
Yeah, like I went to Home Depot and they have that big bin of all the trimmings from the trees when they, like cut the trees and trim the bottom so it fits in the stand. And they have this big, a lot of people just put like one or two down as a centerpiece, but I was like, I'll take the whole thing, load it in the cart, take it home because it's for free. They're just going to throw them away. And then I strung them, wired them all together. So I had like 20 feet of fresh garland. What? Yeah. And then I
Now
put,
what?
woven Christmas lights and, little pine cones and, ornaments and everything. Yeah, it was very festive.
Yeah, it is. How long is this thing?
Yeah, it's like 20-ish feet.
Oh.
Yeah, because it was strung over the
But you
railing.
can't reuse it. Now it's done.
No, it's done.
Now it's in the
like
compost.
this Christmas. It's over.
I sent my my dad and stepmom were in town and she was asking about our compost. They live up in northern California, right at the base of Mount Shasta. And I was like, no, we have compost. And she's like, does it work well? And I was like, it's getting better. They're learning how to do all sorts
getting
of
better.
things. Yeah.
getting better.
I feel pretty good about it. And then the next day I got the message from the Boise compost that said, you can compost your tree. And then in parentheses, it said, live tree, not artificial tree. And I sent it to her. I was like, so, when you have to when you have to remind somebody that you could not compost their artificial tree, like, we got a little ways to go.
Yeah, there is that, man. Can I ask you something? Because you've been obviously engaged in politics for some time. Like you were elected when I was like showed up to the game. I'm not even really in the game. I'm just like a guy asking questions. But like, what do you think? How do you think we get out of this mess?
What's the mess?
I think the mess is there are people in Minnesota that are allegedly committing daycare fraud, and now other people throughout the nation, their attorney generals are like, don't accost home daycares. There was somebody today. This is the point in case. Okay, somebody today I saw on the interwebs puts up this thing with, how is it that we have this many daycares in the city of Boise that are registered with health and welfare, but aren't registered with the Secretary of State's office as a business? And I immediately am like, wait a minute, these are two completely different organizations. Health and welfare is involved in licensing. And Secretary of State's office, there's a whole number of reasons why you wouldn't be registered as a business. So of course, to educate myself, the Google and, the research, and then I start texting people. And it turns out you don't have to register with the Secretary of State if you're a business, if you're like a sole proprietorship, if you're a daycare and you have
a partnership, it's up to you. It's
Yeah,
your
like,
liability level.
you can do it. And there are corporations that do in fact need to register with the Secretary of State, register their business, but not all home daycares are those people. Now, should they be licensed? Yeah, you should be licensed. If you're running a home daycare, you should absolutely be licensed. But if you have, I think it's like 6 kids or fewer. So like, say you have another kid and you're like, all right, well, I can't afford daycare and go to work. But what I can do is I can watch my kid and then invite 5 other families to allow me to watch their kids. I can run a home daycare. I'm going to get licensed. I'll be whatever, fine. But I don't even have to register because I only have 6 kids in the house, including my own. So it's one of those things where you're like, guys, there's a 10-second answer for this.
Well,
that, like, and that's the problem that I see. We're so connected to the rest of the world, the rest of the country, and the rage is so real. And I don't know anything about what's actually happening.
Like this whole thing is like whiplash, because we spent so much of last year trying to deregulate daycares.
How hilarious.
To try and make it easier for 6 and under. That $14 million is earmarked only for 6 and under
daycares, like home daycares.
Yeah, basically unregulated, no Secretary of State necessary.
Don't fill out a form.
Outside of, to try and bring back the golden era of, 1984, where every other house on the block was a daycare. So we spent so much time last year doing that, like, ripping apart long-standing traditions for cities, putting it in the Department of Health and Welfare. And then now all of a sudden we're like, wait, these aren't regulated and they have children in them. It's I asked somebody this morning, I was like, is this what we're going to do all session, is talk about daycares? That was not on my bingo card. But I mean, it's,
but I find that to be a mess, right?
No, to your problem, like the mess, we need a little more forward thinking for sure. And that's not just Idaho. I mean, I think everybody needs to just calm down. Government was never meant to be quick. It's supposed to move at a glacial pace, and it's supposed to be very time consuming with a lot of boring data and a lot of people from, every walk of life and industry, government and non-government alike, bringing their concerns and then slowly, making change. Like, that's the way it's supposed to be. And the more conservative a state, the slower it should be. I mean, Idaho was notorious for reform taking 4, 5, 10 legislative sessions. So
I had no idea.
To go from last year where it was like, we have too much regulation, too much red tape, people can't start up their daycares, and we're, taxpayer funding this part of it and the providers and the people. And so we've just got to let it all go, let people have as many kids as they want in their, daycares, as long as they have an inspection a year, which now will make the department do. And then we really, really, really want to highly encourage these unregulated 6 and under daycares all over the state. We want 1,000 of them, in the next 2 years. And now it's like, now we got people going door to door, just like in Minnesota and Washington, trying to find grift in daycares.
Okay, here's a different question then. How do we stop? No, that's not the right question. How do we as a culture deal with people's inherent desire to have attention? Okay, so you see the Nick, whatever his name is, right? The dude going around Minnesota, going to the daycare centers.
Right,
By the way, and again, I don't know anything about it, but I was also watching this over, the holiday, because that's when we're hanging out. And I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of daycares are empty right now, because it's like Christmas. Like, who's taking, but they got to be open in case somebody, so like, this isn't like mid-August or September when everybody's in gangbuster working. Anyway, I don't know anything about it, but people see that guy and they're like, that's what we need. That's what we need. And I think I could do it. Yeah. So come on, Chad, come on, we're going. And, we grab a camera, get a dumb lapel microphone, and we get a printout, accusing them. You're like, you're licensed, but you're not registered with the Secretary. We don't know what any of that means. And we're like, where are the children? It's like, bro, it's Christmas Day. They're like, but you guys are open. Like, yeah, we're open, but it's Christmas Day. Like, nobody, it's like, you have people's inherent desire to be that person. And because and again, no shade on this guy. If it turns out that everything he's saying is accurate, wonderful. Like, great. There are problems with our media system. Like, I'm 100, look, I'm a product of me feeling there's a problem with the media system, 100%. But I think, to your point, we have people now across the nation going door to door with these licensed places, demanding answers, as if they can show up and demand answers of licensed home daycares. They're taking pictures of children through the windows. Where are the children? There's a child. It's like, oh my God. Like, if my kid was going to that daycare and I saw my kid on, somebody's Instagram, I'd lose my damn mind.
I know. The cognitive dissonance it takes to understand the protect child, not protect child situation is, well, it's bonkers.
Yeah. So that's a question for you. Like, how do we as a community and as a community in America,
I think it's
that work on like, hey guys, maybe we all shouldn't be, attention jockeys.
Attention jockeys. I like that. I love that we're having this conversation with these glasses on. I just really want to point that out.
I love everything about you being here right now. Here's to you.
So my answer to that would be,
did you notice the ice cubes I have are very specialized?
I know, but it's really tough because I get really nervous. They're going to like hit my teeth.
They're not. They're tiny little ice.
They're like tapioca. I should have a straw. See, you're making noise when you drink. Like how?
Yeah, but no, I don't think anybody cares.
So now you get one, and I gotta like chew it.
Okay, well, I'll talk and you chew.
No,
I like the glasses. I really like the glasses. The crappy review, the accurate review that crapped on me for interrupting you in that show like months and months ago.
What was
It's
her
still
name?
Janet Benet or something. It's still shout out Janet, I love you. It's still the #1 review on the Apple Podcast,
Yeah.
and I love that it's staying there. I see it every time I see it. It warms my heart.
Yeah.
So I won't interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well,
This time.
we are all, this is true, I think, of human beings, but it's especially true of human beings that live in countries that were founded on revolution. Like, you don't get out of that mindset. So we're like inherently skeptical of government.
Yeah.
Always.
I tried to explain that to a friend of mine from Canada, and he didn't get it. I'm like, you don't understand, man.
Like the trust level. I mean, we are better compared to, say, Mexico than we are to Great Britain, just based on our birth story. We are very skeptical of government, and I believe rightly so. Like I like that as a principle. What has happened is that inherent skepticism of government, we used to trust our elected officials to take on that burden and do the things necessary to try and uncover the parlance of our time, the conspiracy or, whatever. The issue is that now everybody thinks that they can do that. And so elected officials are without a certain role. Like, what is the role now in government if outside government, these people are doing all of this provocative, performative uncovering of government waste, fraud, and abuse? What is the role of an elected official anymore, except to now pander outside and not do the job inside? And so I don't know how you solve that. I don't know how we get people to kind of re-engage with the trust system and, say, if you want a republic, if you want a representative government, then you have to trust those people that you elect to represent you and vote on your behalf. And if that's not what you want, if we want like this like direct democracy thing where we all quit our jobs and we just like sit around and vote on everything from, traffic policy to, federal healthcare policy, then I don't know what, I wish we could like all just take a breath and be like, what is it that you want? What do you want? You just like, are you so, if you really want to be a part of it, then run for office.
I think somebody pointed something out to me a while ago, that with more Democratic leaning states, you have people fundamentally that believe more in a group action, group mentality. They have more sympathy towards groups and individuals within groups and things of that nature. Whether it's accurate or not, I don't know. But this is what somebody was telling me. And they're like, the problem is with Republican leaning states, Republicans are less government, more independence, right? And they feel that they individually may have a solution to solve things instead of like trusting, a government entity or a larger organization to resolve it. And you see that play out in Idaho in a number of ways, right? Like one of my, I think arguably my favorite podcast I've ever done was with Charlie Lyons from the Idaho Rangeland Association, a rancher who was dealing with unbelievable damage to his business because of wildfire problems, right? Is that your cell phone? God bless. Just take the headphones off. Don't.
It's 3:30.
It is.
You're gonna appreciate that.
Go.
Every day at 3:30, I remind myself that I'm being recorded. Trying.
Wait, you're being recorded?
Well, you know, I mean, oh gosh.
Wait, at 3:30 every day, you're like, hey, man.
I can't believe I'm sharing this. It takes a lot. Like, we are naturally communicative people. And to this whole point, it is a very different world that we live in, that you have to consider whether or not the person that you are talking to is genuine and authentic, and if they're recording you. And it takes, like, you've got to reprogram your brain to basically consider that as an option.
Can I tell you something? And I really mean this. There will never be a time when you have to worry with me, because I am always recording you. Just want you to know, you don't need an alarm. You don't just, you walk in, like you park your car and I'm just like recording.
Yeah. And maybe, you know, I appreciate that.
I had one of my first podcasts in 20.
No, wait, go back to the rangeland.
I will,
Okay,
but I want to tell you something because it's very much relates to this. In 2020, it was 6 weeks into the lockdown. And what was amazing is I started my original podcast, The Engine of Matt Todd, like 2 months before the lockdown happened. And I did them every day. And they were like predominantly solo episodes to the beginning. So literally
solo episode?
Solo every single day, on script, 10 minutes.
Episode.
It's like 10 minutes, stop bubblegum, right? And
I think we call that a vlog.
Yeah. So essentially, but what's amazing is I started it right before the whole world turned to hell, and I ran it for 2 years. So you could see the transition. Like, it is a recorded vlog. And then I started weaving in interviews and stuff. And that's how I cut my teeth with interviews and whatnot. But my point is that 6 weeks into the lockdown, I was like really stressed out, right? Like, not really, but things were getting weird, right? And we're like, this is not, like, they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. This is like kind of, we're 6 weeks in, 3 kids at home, like my 3-year-old's doing preschool on Zoom story time. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Like, what is it? Things are getting weird, right? And as a result, I start drinking, and don't judge me for this. I was drinking like 3 hard apple ciders a week. It was pretty wild. Watch out.
Bad for your teeth.
It was bad. It was real bad. And I realized in this moment, I'm like, you're drinking this because, again, I was gluten-free at the time, but I was like, you're drinking this because you're under stress. No surprise there. Not like, nothing I'm saying is profound. But what I realized is, hey man, it seems that we are walking into something that will be a defining moment, or potentially a defining moment of our lifetime. Right? Like, something's going on in the world that has never happened in your lifetime. It may never happen again. You're literally like locked in your house. This is going to be real. And as such, you're probably going to remember what you did in this moment for the rest of your life. And if what you did is turn to the hard apple cider, you're going to have to square with that. And that literally reoriented me at the end of May of 2020 to be like, keep your eyes open and watch yourself, because you're not going to be able to erase what you do.
So I have a question about hard apple cider.
Hit me.
Adjacent. I mean, one thing that teaching high school and undergrad, college students, and then just having, you know, a lot of them in your life, I mean, you notice it now, society's talking about it, that this generation that's coming up, they don't drink. I mean, and if they do, it's very little, and it's more about the experience.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it is not the same. The binge drinking of the 80s is, you know, it's not.
The 90s.
Yes, and 2000s.
Last night.
Yeah. the you know, push back against the whatever, the system. It's just not the same. And so we've been talking about, you know, in my family, like, well, what happens? Because the United States, I mean, we are a service industry. That's what happens as a developed nation. We are service based. And I mean, we're holding on to manufacturing and farming mostly through subsidization, because it just otherwise wouldn't exist. And so our service industry is food and alcohol. I mean, that's what it is.
Yep.
And now we have an entire generation, and even our generation, that things are so much more expensive and we just don't do the same things. Like, what happens when people don't drink or go out to eat?
Here's one for you. Just side note. I took my family, all 5 of us, out to breakfast yesterday. loved going out. So happy I had the money to do it. I got a meal that I shared liberally. My wife got a meal that she shared. And then between our 3 boys that eat like monsters, we had them split 2 meals, full stack, right? Full stack of pancakes. We got a little side of eggs. Wife and I got coffee. They didn't get hot chocolates, nothing. $120.
That's actually pretty good. I mean, it's crazy. You're right. That's an insane.
120. It was pancakes
and you could have
eggs.
had that at home.
The number of times I could have cooked what we ate at home over at least 6 to 7 times.
Yeah.
And you're like, what did I get that was so profound? So to your point, like, say goodnight. Like, if this is the way it will cost, like, there's no way. $120 for 5 people to go out, especially when 3 of them split 2 meals.
So what happens? Like, what is the next iteration of developed nation status? Like, what do we do for work? Like, what do we do? You know, if you've got de Tocqueville, like, they're only going to be able to keep this up if they keep their communities together and, you know, have factions upon factions, or, you know, bowling alone. Like, oh no, they're not hanging out with each other and they're building fences. And now we're just like, you know, how do we get people to re-engage, get tech out of school, you know, get older people to join Rotary clubs or whatever it is. And now we don't even have the modicum of community in restaurants and bars. Like, what is happening?
Look, do you want my honest answer?
Yeah. You're wearing the most honest glasses you could be wearing. This is honest answer time.
Look, I've only always been a guy. Okay. And I've also been an athlete. And I cross a lot of barriers because I was also a trumpet player, like in the jazz bands, love music. Wrestler, water polo player, swimmer, you know, rower. I was also a math major, loved school, loved science. I went from math to English, you know, or liberal arts. So like, I cross a lot of different barriers. And I can tell you that the disdain that the average American has for men is very, very, very profound. And there used to be core community groups that were men oriented, like the Mooses, you know, or the
we've had this
lodge.
talk. You're not going to convince me. I agree.
Like, and I think that is really, really a problem. You also have, okay, so that's for older people that have something to contribute. Older gentlemen who, you know, get together, need to, you know, hang out. And even in saying this, I hear in my head like, oh, they're just pigs. They just want to blow off steam. It's like, dude, love it or hate it. Like, it's never a problem if you see a group of women somewhere enjoying themselves, socializing. But the idea of like guys needing that is offensive to some people, right? And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. But not only that, the alienation people even feel from, young people feel from sports, right? It's like, oh, you're there's always been the criticism of the dumb jock. And I'm not saying that there aren't, you know, like athletes that warranted that, just like idiots who are really good at like pushing weight, whatever it might be, right? Doesn't matter. But even within my own life, like there were many times when there was criticism of me just because I engaged in a team sport and I was a successful athlete. So we've alienated older community sectors for half of the population. And for that same half of the population, we've also alienated and vilified the younger communities that are centered. Women's sports, everybody loves women's sports. Everybody loves the idea. Everybody loves the idea of women's sports. We don't actually participate in watching them and engaging them. So when we democratize actual behavior, we're like, hey, watch what you actually like. We find out what people like. And it's not actually, you know, the WNBA.
I'm concerned that you are trying to make an argument that the thing that would solve our problem is to make it more comfortable for men to be in groups, again.
I don't know that I'm not saying that.
I know.
Is that a problem? When you're talking about we don't have the Rotary Club and we don't have community, I'm like, yeah, maybe we should make it okay for men to be in groups.
But whose job is it to make men feel comfortable, again? Who's? I'm just
no.
I'm
let me put it this way. It's not one person's responsibility
or one gender's responsibility.
No, it's not that either.
Okay.
It's not that either. What I am saying, though, is when you have a societal shift that unequivocally disapproves of community organizations for men.
But why did that happen?
No, listen. I have no answers. I'm just saying, when we unequivocally disapprove of community organizations for men, then bemoan the lack of community connection. Well, I mean, like, what do you think happened?
Well, no,
what do you mean?
You're right there, but it's more than just men. I mean, the last time we talked, I brought up the fact that a lot of the removal of those communities, like you were talking about, whether it's the Shriners or the the Elks, I mean, that disappeared, not because society all of a sudden had to freak out about men in groups. That was part of the right to work and getting rid of unions. I mean, that they were union halls. And so it was
the Elks Lodge and the Lions Club were not just union halls.
No, but I mean, that's how those kind of communities came about. Otherwise, you're like just trying to, like, where do you find people? Like, what is their connection?
Well, you have, like, ethnic clubs, right? Like the Italian, clubs, or things that are like Irish pubs, right? Like you have.
So what kind of community could we bring back that not only creates a sense of welcoming and brings everybody together, but also doesn't negate what happened in the past, or
What do you mean doesn't negate what happened in the past?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for why there aren't groups, or why society was against groups. I don't know. The KKK is a good example.
Okay, you just picked literally one of the most offensive groups in American history.
There's a lot of reasons
out of tens of thousands of groups. You picked the KKK.
You said pick one. So why did these...
But that's not representative of why groups went away.
No, but it's representative of why governments and other groups got involved to try and disperse group mentality. And I don't know how I want to bring groups back. I believe fully that we need to have more community, whether it's the Elks Lodge or, I'm learning to play bridge, and I'd really like to be part of a,
bridge club,
young bridge club. I believe that, but I don't know how that solves the fundamental problem of what are we all doing? Like, what is it that we contribute to the world?
Okay, but these are two different questions.
Service. These
are two different questions. Look, I led with, hey man, we all can acknowledge that there has been a vilification of male-oriented groups, and you went to the KKK.
No, whoa.
Well, you did. You're like, we need to not negate this. We started
over here, and we were talking about what happens and why groups have dispersed, and you asked, why would it happen? Why would it happen? And I gave you one example of why governments and communities would be fearful of groups. I gave you another example, right to work. Right? Dispersing union halls. I'll give you, a million examples.
Wait, you're moving too fast.
But don't say that I went from vilifying
I don't understand how the KKK has any place in this conversation right now. I don't understand that.
Oh, I was just saying that is a group mentality that was forcibly dispersed. Men in groups forcibly dispersed.
Okay, a very tiny number of men in a very, very deplorable group.
I wasn't even making it about men. I just said that
you just said men in groups. You just said that.
It's just groups dispersed.
Okay, but what I'm saying is I gave you examples even of my lived experience. My point is that
what's your point?
If you take we have inherently limited the number of the type of groups that can exist. And that's a problem when we're sitting here saying, hey, but we need community.
For men? What kind of groups are not available to you that would make you feel more comfortable in your manhood?
Monica, you're reducing down the plight.
But that's what you said, that society has fundamentally been anti-man, and thus men are not in groups. Thus, I don't know. I don't know what.
Thus, we don't have groups, and we have less of a community.
So, what kind of groups are you missing that don't exist anymore? I mean, I think all those groups still exist. The Masons still exist. The Elks still exist. You could go to the Y. I'm pretty sure you could join a sports team. You could probably even do adult wrestling. I don't know. It's probably out there. You have jujitsu. I mean, there are lots of clubs. Like, what are you missing that somehow was stolen from you as a man by
Monica, I'm not portraying
society
myself as a victim man.
But I don't understand
okay.
what's missing.
Okay, that's fine, but let's slow down, okay? Because what you're saying is like what was stolen from you is like I'm not saying something was stolen from me.
Well, you said that society shifted, but I don't
think anybody would disagree that society has shifted since like I don't know, like 5 decades ago or. But 6 decades ago.
Why? Why did that happen?
But you're also saying what? You're saying what? You're saying why? You're saying where, right? So you're asking a lot of different questions at the same time and just throwing in there the portrayal of me as some victim. Wait, you said, what has society stolen from you as a man? That to me inherently portrays like, oh, I was robbed because I'm a man. I'm not sitting here telling you any of that. I have very few skill sets. One of them, very thankfully, happens to me that I somehow build community. And I don't know how or why, but it happens. Like I just aggregate friends or people that, like I don't know. Like I don't know why it happens. It happens when I go to jujitsu schools. People, start asking me questions and like I start developing friendships. Like I can develop communities. If left to my own devices, I develop communities. Okay, that's one. So I'm not saying even me necessarily. What I am saying is I experience friends of mine. I have a dear friend, Jeff. Okay, he's an engineer at Apple and very bright guy. And I met him through jujitsu and he was one of the first people. I met him when I was like in my mid 30s and he was his early 50s. And, it's not like he's some fantastic athlete. He's a guy who like works on the, camera on the iPhone and like wanted to get into jujitsu. So he comes in and it's like, dude, his hands were always cold. He had these like long gangly fingers too. I was like, initially I was like, I don't really like this guy. But we bonded over like Monty Python jokes and everything. I'm like, all right. And then we started like swapping math puzzles. I'm like, all right, I like this guy a lot. He's one of the first people that I met that I really deeply connected with that I was able to ask like, hey, Jeff, outside of jiu-jitsu, you're like in your early 30s. Outside of jiu-jitsu, do you actually have friends? And he was like, no, there's nowhere, right? Because he goes to work and then he comes home and he lacked that capacity there just wasn't that space for him in the world. And that really concerned me. And I started talking to a lot of older, not super old, but older people and started really looking at older guys. I'm like, what do they do? Do they have like their boys? Here, point in case, there's this place called the Alamo Cafe. And I went there one day with a friend of mine from jiu-jitsu early. I hadn't seen him. I was like, hey, look, I know you got to work early. Let's go get breakfast at like 6:30, like whatever. Right. And he was like, great. We show up. There's this tiny group of guys that apparently I come to find out it's this like 7 or 8 guys who meet there every single morning. They get there before the owner. So the owner gave one of them a key. And so they get on. There's
that group of men at almost every coffee shop in America.
Well, look, that's fine. I've never seen it anywhere else. And this was hyper unique. And the people that related, they're like, oh yeah, like it's Shane and it's whatever. And like each of those guys are worth like $15 million. And they show up and like drink the bad coffee and eat the pancakes every day because once their day starts, they have no other connection with humanity. And they're successful businessmen and they do all these other things. But like without those 7 dudes, like anyway, so that started concerning me. And then again, I'm not trying to convince you.
How is that how is that different from, I guess, is there a time that you can say to me, here is when men were happy and they had community and nobody had to worry because they were doing well? Like, is there a time that you can point to that says, here's where it shifted and society, culture, whatever that term you used in the beginning, decided that it was anti-men in groups? Like, when was a good time for men?
Oh, I'm not like a man historian. If you're asking me to
but
pin
you
it down.
said it shifted. Mm-hmm. But I guess but when? I mean, I don't know. Like if I went in a time machine back to 1890 when statehood in Idaho, and asked a bunch of, men if they had time for friends at 45 or 50 years old, I don't know that they would say, I am completely fulfilled in my capacity to make, hone, and be in community with other men. I just don't know that that's true. And so the idea that somehow something was lost or stolen or changed, I think, I just don't know. I just don't know. I do know that groups have historically been dispersed for many different reasons, some good, some bad, because of whether it's fear or shifting politics or whatever. I just don't know that it is necessarily men or anything has been lost. I don't know that that is true.
That's fine, but you're also sitting here saying we don't have community. And I'm just positing, like, we have the Republican, Canyon County Republican Women's Club. Do you have the Canyon County Republican Men's Club? No. And you will
is
say,
that just the Republican Party?
Right. That's I was just going to say that. You're going to say that's just the Republican Party. So the absence of a specific group is defended by saying, well, you have it anyway. And it's like, well, maybe not. I have no idea. What I'm saying is you have the League of Women Voters. Do you have the League of Men Voters? No, you don't. Now, I'm not saying, because it's just like, isn't that just, okay, we don't. That's my point.
Like, I don't know that it's wanted. Just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean that it's wanted. I mean,
just because it doesn't exist,
says
but just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean it's not wanted. There are also societal pressures on people. Like, we're totally fine saying that there are societal pressures that act poorly against women. And I'm not saying there aren't. But the second you say there are societal pressures acting poorly against men, people are like, whatever.
Well, I don't know what people, I'm not saying that.
Great. Well, then can we acknowledge that there are societal pressures that can act poorly against men?
We can acknowledge that, and that there are societal pressures that act poorly against women.
Okay, both genders. Great. So when you're saying why, if I say, hey, societal pressures, that's likely an answer that would be laughed roundly out of the
why. I can answer the why for women. You can answer the why for men. Like, there are
yes, but I'm not debating your reasons
for why.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, hey, I have experienced this thing, and I have seen this thing play out to a degree, right? Because I'm not a historian, but I'm like, hey, look, these are the things that I've read about. These are the things that I've seen. These are the things that I've communicated with people about. Your retort is, yeah, but, right? If you say, hey, man, women, blank, 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 I say, okay.
I didn't say, yeah, but women. I said...
No, I didn't say, yeah, but women. You just say, yeah, but.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're like, hey, you're like, well, but what if this? Or what if it's just market
why
forces?
Did it happen? Because you can't understand your current without understanding why it happened, so that you can better yourself for the future. So did I. And then you got all on me about the KKK.
That's crazy, though.
That is a group that was dispersed on purpose. And it was...
but we don't have a problem having groups for women.
Oh my. See, you made this about that.
No, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with women having groups.
There were a lot of years where women were barred from having any community.
I'm very happy they have groups.
Okay, well, it's not a
we're not arguing. We're not in conflict here.
One doesn't have to have for
That's
the other.
my point. We're not in conflict.
But I'm also saying I don't think that there's a lack of men groups. I think that is an argument where you're like, well, women are allowed to have all these groups, but men aren't. Like, what do you mean? Men have lots of groups. Have a group.
Okay.
Have a group. Like, there's so many fun opportunities if you want them.
If you feel as a person and a woman that you would have no problem with the League of Men Voters, and you would have no problem with the Canyon County Republican Men's Club that holds events and does things. If you're saying you would have no problem with that, that's wonderful. I think that's great.
I don't know that society would have a problem with either of those groups.
That's fine. And if you feel that wouldn't be a problem, that's totally fine. Like, I have no problem. I'm not arguing you or saying you're wrong or anything or objecting to your feelings. All I'm saying is I don't know that your position is the majority position. That's it. And if you're like, I don't see a problem with it, ergo, no one sees a problem with it.
No, you're right. And so that was where our argument started. And I said, well, why is it that society, which is a hard thing to define, shifted from being okay with men's clubs, for example, the Arid Club in Boise used to be a men's only. The Elks used to be men's only. Boy Scouts used to be men only. Like, what happened in society that shifted that? And then can we solve that? Can we say, okay, we've addressed that, like you do with your children? Like, have you addressed the issue that led to the consequence? And if so, are we ready to move on to the next thing, the next iteration of whatever community looks like? And I would like to get to can we accept whatever happened that led to the consequence? And can we now have community differently, whatever that differently looks like, whether it's, and I think these things are happening. I think we're bringing back all sorts of, they're not old school, but I don't know a better term for it. These kind of communities, whether it's bowling leagues or, intramural sports seems to be having a big comeback. At least a lot of, my friends are doing kickball and other things. I mean, I think there's an opportunity, but to deny that there was a purposeful reason for the effect, I mean, just kind of negates the whole point.
Deny there's a purpose reason for the effect.
Well, the issue that is, there was a purpose for why it happened, for all things. Like
I don't think I'm denying. I just rejected your KKK example. I'm not denying anything else you've said. Like, I'm not denying. Like, okay. If you feel I've denied something,
no. But that is a group that was dispersed on purpose for fear that too many people getting together collectively in certain circumstances with a certain belief structure would make terrible decisions that were harmful to others. And oftentimes, especially in societies and in democracies, there's universal things that happen from that. If one group is punished for behavior, it becomes well, we don't want this, and we don't want this, and we don't want this. So you have to accept the things that happened and why they happened and say, okay, I see that when left without any kind of guardrails, community or groups can become, violent or dangerous or whatever else it is.
But okay. I think we live in America, so we have guardrails. Like
sometimes.
Yeah, but fundamentally we're supposed to. Okay, like you can have your group, you can have your party. The first time we talked, you talked about what Idaho is, and I remember distinctly you were like, "Look, man, love your neighbor, but they got their thing, you got your thing. You leave them alone, right?"
For sure.
And that should be what it is with groups, where it's like, "Hey, man," or communities, you got your thing, they got their thing, leave them alone, right?
Yeah, as long as nobody's being violent toward one another.
Sure. So we have guardrails.
Sewing group, and I can be a shooting group.
Right. So to say, hey man, part of the reason why we don't have as many men-oriented groups is at least tangentially related to the KKK, because if left unchecked, like I just don't understand the point, and it's fine. Like I'm not trying to pigeonhole you. Oh my God, Janet, I'm 100% for more in-person community. And I don't understand why we have 50% more women than men in higher education and nobody cares. I don't understand why the biggest group for suicide is like older men and no one cares.
So I do appreciate those questions. The University of Idaho was actually just asked to join on to a nationwide research. And I am blanking on the guy's name. He wrote a book. I think it's called On Boys and Men. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, he just recently spoke, or no, he's going to on the 8th at the University of Utah. And one of their institutes down there has joined onto this and is doing some of the research. And it is about that kind of broader question. What is going on with boys and men in universities, in all these different fields? Like, what is happening? And so there's this research that is being done in all these different states. I think every state surrounding us has joined on to kind of this idea of, let's see state by state, and if there are some connections, what are they? And I think that is a worthwhile endeavor. And I really hope that the University of Idaho takes on, that research opportunity and the grant money that comes with it from this group that again, I'm blanking on his name, started, because we can't answer it without having some kind of data to say, here are all the things that we have learned. Here are the, cross-cutting cleavages. Here are the, points that we can deal with. Here are the things that we just, don't know that could be state related or community related. But I do think that that is a good question, because I mean, it's apparent that there's something different that can't just be described as there are more women in these opportunities. Like there have been more and a decrease. And so what is the reason or the, cautionary tale for how that happened or why it happened?
Look, I love that. Okay. I
wish I remember his name.
I was very concerned about the sentiment in my former state, specifically because I was raising 3 boys. And the sentiment that I hear roundly concluded is, there was a whole wave of like, oh, watch out for toxic masculinity. That popped up in like 2010 or something. And it just carried this whole wave of like anything distinctly masculine or anything, again, sports. You're like, you want to be some dumb jock, like toxic masculinity, like any rite of passage, toxic masculinity. And then we also move to any space that happens to be dominated or disproportionately populated by men needs to be equitable and include women. And any space that is dominated by women, no one cares about. And that came to be this thing where it's like veterinary medicine. Nobody's saying like, get more men to be vets. Like nobody's saying get more men in healthcare.
I think I think right now people are saying that. I mean, I just gave you an example of how all of the Western states are part of this.
You can't even remember the name of the organization.
No, I know.
That's my point. It's like my point.
This is it's brand new because people are talking about it.
If you feel like that people are worried about men, that's fine. But what I see is a lot of times young men in particular, who I think are very, very much struggling between the ages of like 15 and 30. And then later on, like I know somebody right now who has a son who's like 28, 29, lives at home, plays video games, like failure to launch. And she doesn't know what to do with the guy. And she loves him, but it's like, what happened? Like you have this group of young men and overwhelmingly they're just looked at disdainfully and with like this disgust, like these dudes just in the basement, instead of like, okay, look, something happened. This person who was capable of being big and awesome and cool, this person, something happened. And they are maladaptive to the world. They are not seeking out companionship. They are not seeking out real world contributing adventures and endeavors. They're not functioning correctly. Like they got their wires crossed. We need something to help them. That last step, wait, okay. Just like I think we should at least acknowledge that 15 to 30, there's something happening and it's really bad. And it's really bad because if we don't have half of the equation, if every woman in the world is educated, hardworking, brilliant, awesome, and God bless it if every single one was, great. But if you don't have the other half of the equation, which is a competent and comparable partner, you're at a loss too. So in our fervor to enrich and embolden and encourage and support, which we should, the women half, something has happened to the men. And the women now are arriving at the table fully formed, ready to kick ass, ready to take on the world and improve the world and do their part. And they're looking for partners and they're like, what the fuck are the dudes? Where are the dudes? And the dudes are like at home. And instead of being like, hey, wait a minute, whoa, something has happened. Like what happened? People are like, oh, they're just pigs. They're just blah, 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 blah. There's no.
I just don't think that's true.
I don't know where you're getting your information.
You're just making blanket statements. So do you know Hans Rosling, Factfulness, Gapminder? So this is a economic social theory called factfulness that says that the world is progressively getting better. Yeah. And that data will show us that. But the problem is that we are so interconnected, media, everything else, that we see the world other than it is. And so I mean, I am all for research. I don't know because I have no frame of reference, but
I can give you facts.
I do not know if we really are seeing a shift or if we had never noticed it before. Were there when women were not apart, when they were not full functioning partners because they were denied opportunity to be such, were there men who were failure to launch and just nobody paid attention? Has that number grown or has our focus shifted? And I don't know the answer, but only research can tell us that. Like, I don't know if 100 years ago, if proportionately the same number of men were failure to launch and living at home and not engaging and not being productive in a way that suited society. I know
Monica,
that we're hyper-focused today.
Right now, across the world, like do you know the term kikikomora? It's a Japanese term. This term came into existence in the last 10 years for men who are the classic failure to launch that literally are addicted to video games and pornography. And these things did not exist. Now, mind you, these two things scratch the two primary itches of men in a way that they cannot rip themselves from. And I know because at least one of them, video games, I had a very bad bout of addiction with. And the only thing that got me out of it was realizing that it's like, hey, you, Matt, at like 19,
quit holding the troll.
You actually want to be this competent, awesome dude. And you're scratching that itch with this video game because in the video game, you're becoming this like godly figure.
But then what's the solution to that? I thought we were arguing about how, women's rise led to men's, downfall.
No, I didn't say women's rise. I didn't say women's rise is what led to men's downfall. I was saying that the vilification of men's spaces led to men not, because you know what the answer is? Getting the 19-year-old with a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old that they look at and they're actually, I don't care about the game. I want what you have. And you're like, come with me. Come with me. This is going to hurt, but come with me and I will help you see the path. That's the solution. Okay. Integrating men's groups so that men, actual men, competent, successful pillars of the community can lead and usher in the next generation of young men that don't know how to do it. And they're getting adventure and competence and success through virtual reality. And they're also getting companionship and sex and intimacy through virtual reality, neither of which are real or lead to positive things, but they're being provided these things.
I don't think there's any barrier to entry for a group, a young men's Christian association to be created where older men can mentor young men in jobs and ethic and whatever else. I don't think there's any barrier to entry there. So I guess my question is like, why aren't those things?
Well, you know what the answer
why
is?
Aren't 55, 60-year-old men mentoring 19 to 30-year-old men right now?
I'll tell you what. I'm just wrong on this one.
No, I
like
just don't
it's
know.
totally
I don't know why
fine. You're like, but every time I bring up a point, you're like, but I don't know. It's always a but. Instead of being like, okay, I hear that.
Happening.
That's fine. Then I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong. We just need some research. I just need some research to say to me that there is a difference today that is not just about us being hyper aware of everything in our lives, back to the daycares.
Monica, there is a, do you are you familiar with the MMORPG problems or like the porn addiction problem you have to be aware of?
I do not.
You're not familiar with the issues that Senator Kevin Cook has brought up.
I mean, I do not have, that has not been a part of my life. I don't have anyone in my life with that problem, nor have I. So it has not been a part of my life. Do I understand that it is a problem based on information that's been presented to me? Okay. I just don't have a frame of reference for it.
I understand, but what I'm trying to do is share with you something from my life and my perspective, and what you're defaulting to is, yeah, Matt, but you don't have the data that I would consider valuable to take this consideration seriously. And that's fine that you take that perspective, but
I would. No, that's my perspective.
Well, your perspective is you don't have data, or like, things are actually getting better. I'm like, Monica, mass multiplayer online role-playing games didn't exist in 1990. They sprung up.
Said that was created because there were no more men's spaces. You said that women rose up, and then toxic masculinity led to video games and porn addiction. And so now we've got to Monica, back that up. I just don't know, how do we back that up?
You just made a word sandwich or a salad. I did not say that women's improvement in life led to toxic masculinity, which also led to porn addiction. I did not say that.
Close.
No.
Yes.
Nowhere near did I say that.
Okay.
These things can happen independent and all coalesce in the middle where we develop a real problem. If we had viable men's spaces where we had more traditional, 40 and 50 and 60-year-old guys helping lead, younger men.
Lead them where? What are they doing? What are we doing in these groups?
Then if we had that, perhaps the draw or the grip that, for instance, video game addiction and pornography addiction have on young men, maybe they would have less of a grip, because you would have people trying to pull you through this and help you understand that, hey man, this isn't what you actually want. This is like you're starving to death and you're drinking a Diet Coke. It doesn't have calories and you're going to end up dying. I know it seems like it's the right thing, but it's not. Okay. Maybe. Now, I'm not saying that because women's plot in life improved that, porn addiction started. It's like we didn't have porn addiction. Like, I remember trying to download a nude photo in like 1998 on a 14.4 modem. And it was like, it was like, and then my sister's friends would call on the phone and the download would get interrupted. I'm like, I throw my monitor out the window. Like, we didn't have, when I was a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I didn't have, I shudder to think of what I would have gotten into if I actually had what I have now and parents that weren't paying attention.
Do you think that it's like, okay, so a lot of women's groups, whether it's League of Women Voters or, you brought up like the WNBA, right? These were created in context because they didn't exist prior. So maybe we just need like groups that are created kind of like AA, where you have men who have overcome these societal, pulls that have removed them from community to re-engage them into community.
I think those porn addiction groups, it's very embarrassing. Like, it's a horrible thing that I think disproportionately grips men. I think that is something that scratches an itch for men that is exceedingly difficult to like veer away from. And that creates all kinds of problems.
But I don't know that anybody would like be against, I don't know what you would call it, but a group that formed in order to mentor and create community for young men who are experiencing or likely to experience this situation. We started this because we said that there was some kind of societal shift against men that has had, at least correlating consequences. But I think that you can flip it around pretty easily. Or
what do you mean flip it around?
To create groups to try and like lure young people back to society.
We're never going to park the unlimited pornography back in the garage. Okay, so when we say we could just reverse this,
weird to me. I just can't even. I don't even understand it.
Listen,
it's like trying to understand. I don't know. It's hard for me.
This is my point. You don't have to understand it to understand that for a group of the population, you cannot look away. Okay, like that's why a large portion of social media exists, and that's why like the dark web exists, because it scratches a like lizard brain itch.
Group? Like, is this like how big is this group? We shamed out smoking in public pretty effectively.
check out what you just said. This is actually an interesting point. Why aren't there more people that participate in groups to help people overcome the grips of online pornography? You just likened it to shaming. You just likened it to shaming out smoking.
I don't. You said it's like an addiction that they can't stop. I don't understand addiction beyond like cigarettes or alcohol or, I mean, I guess like I chewed my nails as a child. Like it's very difficult for me to comprehend looking at a TV image as something that cannot be stopped.
Listen, could you envision, you're married to a man. You've known men. You know me. I'm a man.
I know many men.
Many men. Can you envision a draw for men that's like not, it's like, where does the desire to procreate land?
Oh my God.
For men?
I can't
like
have
top
this
one?
conversation.
No,
I've
just
not
hang
had enough
with me.
gin.
That's fine. Drink more than. My point is, you have, we could at least acknowledge that that's a very, very strong draw.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, but
so,
I can also say that.
Okay, you're doing it again. Okay, but you're not like you just got to let me at least finish the point.
Okay.
That we could argue this is probably like once we establish, what is it, the 5 needs, right? It's like housing, food. It's like companionship is right up there. Like we are so damn hardwired for this. And when you offer something that scratches that itch to somebody, men, obviously it's not a problem for you, right? Or at least that itch is not scratched that, on a screen for you, but it is for men, at least some portion of men. And that's a real problem. We're not parking that car back in the garage. We're also not, like the video games are getting stronger and better and more intense. I have 3 young boys. I watch them freak out at times because we don't let them have a lot of video games, but over Christmas break, like we let them play a little bit more video games, their experiences with these things are so much more than like the original Super Nintendo or the original Nintendo. Like it's.
So do we need, are we arguing now that we need government intervention to stop individuals from a obsessive desire toward something like video games or.
Who brought in the government?
Well, I don't know. Like, how do you stop this? Like, you can't, what's the solution? You're saying that this is a systemic problem that is beyond, that we can't put it back in the box or whatever your term was. That this is out of control. It's out of control. Like, and once somebody is taken a hold by these feelings toward video games or pornography, that you can't undo it. So, like, what is the solution? I'm not saying you can't
help people through it. I'm saying it's an incredible draw.
And once how many people? Like, what do we do as a society? Do we have to have everybody needs to come together and be like, okay, we've got this huge issue with men and video games and porn, and we got to deal with it like immediately? That's the
okay? When I was still in SAT tutoring, I obviously worked with boys and girls, whoever came in, and the girls would criticize the men roundly, or at least criticize men in general, not the individual guys in my classroom, but they'd say like, look, every time you start talking to dudes, like online, Snapchat, whatever, first thing they say is like, how about some nudes? Right?
What?
This is reality, right? And this is what they would say of some people. Now, again, I worked with a wide swath, and that's a problem. Okay. But what I do know is the people that were, I believe, less likely to engage in that were people that had strong communities around their young men that helped steer them appropriately. And it could have been religious oriented, right? Like very much Catholic orientation, or, Mormons, or whatever it might have been.
Strong public school with great sports programs and band programs.
Was not as much it. Although I did, for my particular experience, I did have great experiences through athletics that led to people that really helped steer me in the right direction as like a wayward soul, teenager. So what I am saying is that you ultimately, the draw to be a bad person or to be a less effective contributor for young men, I think is just greater, because you have these outlets that have never existed that pull you harder, way harder, way harder. Okay. And the solution to that, I think, is at least in part making spaces where you have more interaction with successful older men that can constructively steer and drive you away from that and help you get control of yourself. Because the whole nature of the phone is to get you to lose control of yourself. And that's the death scroll. And this applies to everybody, pornography or not. You have people, I have a very good friend who his first marriage ended in divorce because she got addicted to social media, not pornography, but social media. And he said he would wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. to go to the airport on a work and she'd be there scrolling. She hadn't even gone to bed, right? That's the kind of addiction that people are in grips with, right? And so you need people to help guide young men through that if we want young men to be successful, contributing, and responsible.
Okay, I'm going to do something that's really going to irritate you.
Yeah, but?
No, I'm not going to say that. So what happened to communities of older men mentoring younger men in at least American society?
You tell me.
As culture became more aware of situations, those communities left. I mean, you would have to be...
What situation?
Okay, let's do the Boy Scouts and sexual abuse. Let's do churches and sexual abuse of older men to younger men. I mean, there are so many instances of older men being less than mentor-like and violating and otherwise harming young men, that those communities have been disbanded for fear of older men doing terrible things to young boys. And you can name 100 of them within the last 100 years. So it's like, yes, that is needed. But how do you prevent, back to my point, that in order to understand the present, we have to understand why there are no communities like this right now. Or at least, if we believe that this is a growing problem, what happened that necessitated the disbanding of these groups of men?
Well, I think you just posited a very dark and not inaccurate representation of that. And believe it or not, I'm not annoyed by this because what you said plays directly into what I'm saying, which is you effectively have said, hey, Matt, these groups used to exist, but because men, at least some of them, are so terrible that for the safety of our young men, we had to disband these groups. We could not let older men be around our boys. Now, I am not defending any horrendous things that have happened. I'm merely pointing out that in your own articulation of why we don't have these groups, it starts and stops with men are bad and we cannot let them collect together. Well, okay, at least some men are bad and violate people. And I'm not even saying that you're like, those things happened. Did you see that film Spotlight about the Boston newspaper when they exposed the Catholic Church?
So I have a real hard time with watching drama. I have a real hard time with watching anything. Like I have to multitask. TV just doesn't.
It's totally fine. It doesn't. But like
I know of it because
right.
there was like interviews with Terry Gross or whatnot. But I never watched it. But I know of it, and it won awards, and
great.
It was a real story.
It's totally fine. My point is, I don't disagree with you. I'm saying you're pointing out this problem when you're like, why can't we do this? And then you posit because men are predators.
I didn't say that's not why. I just said those are examples of why. Like,
there you go. There you go.
I refuse to say that a thing is a thing without looking at the past and saying, well,
so here's
what happened to lead us to this point? Well, and those are examples of why. So if we can say, okay, well, that was terrible. How do we make sure that doesn't happen again so that we can mentor in a way that is effective and healthy and safe? In order to do that, we have to know what happened that led to a situation. And so what
Sure.
do you do? I mean, it's just like putting seatbelts on. Like, why, if a kid says, why are there seatbelts? And you say, just because there are, it's like, well, no, there's like a whole reason why there are
Sure.
seatbelts. And if you don't like the way the seatbelt fits, then you've got to understand, well, why is it this way? And what did they find? If there are other ways that they tried before you move on to make a new, incredible new seatbelt. So
We are overwhelmingly in agreement.
so what do it like? How do
I
we?
think
Where's the safeguard? So that's where I get back to like the government. Like where's like?
I don't think the government's the answer.
Like what do you do though? Like how do you protect?
That's a great question. I mean, there are practical things
And
that
provide.
you can do. Here's one. I was gonna, before my SAT program imploded, I was developing like a youth group, right? And first off, I was like, no girls, and they're like, what? And because I really like my girl students. I'm like, you don't understand. There's no world where I was like 35 at the time. And I was like, there's no world where I at 35 am going to tell you're going to tell your mom, like, I'm going to go to Matt's classroom and we're going to play video games. Like, there's no world where you say that ever comes out of your mouth. Like, it's not ever going to happen. And they were like, okay, fine. That's fine. And I was like, by the way, I think you should have groups that are led by women, but it's not up to me to make that happen. Right. I am interested in helping young men be better. Right. And one of the ways that you can work on this is taken from the friend of mine's in the LDS church. And he was like, look, the way we do it is, because I was like, how do you guys work with young people? Like, how does this work? And he was like, well, one thing you do is you always have 2 adults on a text. So you never individually text somebody. And I was like, functional, that works. Perfect. Right. So it's like you always have a second person. I, in fact, was revising the requirement for no girls to be like, okay, if I could add a woman in, like if there was a mom or a friend of mine that was like a great, and I had a friend who was a few years younger than me. She was one of my dear friend's wives. I was like, okay, if we could get Tanis here, if Tanis would participate in this, because she was awesome and like kicks ass. And if she could like be there then like perfect, right? So you have these checks and balances and you look at the structure of the organization with these checks and balances. You're like, okay, these are people that are really committed and interested in helping young people, right, be better. And I am interested in helping young people be better, 100%. And especially young men, because I think young men in particular are floundering. And again, I can't solve all of the problems of the world, but it's like, man, I know how to take like a 16-year-old dude and help them be a little bit better, right? Like that's just it. And that's really, really important. But I do think you have to, when we take a step back and we're like, why is it that we don't have groups that are around men? I think part of the thing that we should always hold in our head is because people don't trust them, right? As you pointed out. Okay. So that's a huge reason. So these things disappeared. And if you want to blame men for it, that's fine. If you want to blame bad priests, that's fine. And there are plenty of them and plenty of them that haven't even been blamed fully. And justice has not been served for those victims, 100%. And, sports coaches, I know I'm very close to people who grew up in sports teams, women's sports teams, where a coach, slept with like the 15-year-old. Terrible. And that person went to prison, and God bless it. And I wish he went for longer, right? Like these are really bad. It's very tricky trying to develop communities that are trying to develop youth. It is a very, very tricky thing. But in the absence of this, especially young men, they are drawn to terrible things that lead them to be terrible people. And that's terrible for everyone. It's not just terrible for men. And I don't think it is something that should be looked at lightly or shamed. Like, you're addicted to pornography. Shame. That's not going to solve the person's problem. You got a 19-year-old who's addicted to porn. Shaming him is just going to drive him into the darkness and into the basement, and he will never come out. And what he could have been at some point in the future, he will never be that thing. And that's terrible. And this is now the world that I'm horrified that my boys are being raised in. But we have to address it. We got to figure out a way. We got to, a path forward somehow. And
well, but you admitted there that when you tried to create it, you knew that you had to, for your own safety, security, everything else, as well as the trust of families and community, to put in all these different safeguards that created, that everyone understood the role, the mission, and felt trustworthy because of systemic, irresponsible behavior from the past. And that's amazing. And you would hope that everybody would choose a group like that for their children. And I hope that there's a million of those. But it's like anything else. It takes one bad actor for, it's a busy family. This is a youth group of whatever, sort. And you think it's safe and you think it's responsible. And it's not. And so, like, I don't know what the answer is, but
Monica, I think what you're ultimately trying to do is just come back to, look, you were positing a question of why initially. And I realize now that's not really a question in your head. You were trying to get me to arrive at, because we have systemic problems of bad actors that are males in the past that have ruined it for everyone. That's essentially, I think, what you were trying to get to.
Well, it not ruined it for everyone, but we have to accept that in order to move forward.
Okay, so now that I understand that it was a rhetorical question, and the real point that you were getting at is some men have behaved badly, and that's why we don't have any more men's groups. Because when men get together, that's your whole KKK example makes sense now. It's like so your position is when men get together, there is a tendency, or
I don't know. I'm saying society in the past. I was not born then.
Listen,
governments and society broke those groups up.
I'm saying I understand where you're coming
lawyers broke up, the church situation,
what church situation? What are you talking about?
The movie, right? They were male lawyers that broke that up. Like, it's not like I'm saying that this happened. I'm saying in the past.
Your point was
that
I'm not saying you broke this up. I'm not saying Monica Church was out there, Monica Church Esquire, like suing everyone. I'm saying your point is, when I'm like, hey, we don't have men's groups. Okay.
They did it by design. And so now we have to, by design, build new community. But if we can't accept the past as the thing that happened, then we can't build a new Elks Club, because we haven't addressed the reason that it doesn't exist in the same way that it did currently. That's all I'm saying. And I never was going into young people. I mean, I really wanted it to be about the fact that, we need to reinvent the community of work. That was my original point, was that community of work was our OG community, whether you worked in the timber industry or whether you worked in manufacturing or whether you worked, in the service industry, like that was your community. And you had your community at work, and then oftentimes you had some kind of outside community, whether it was a lodge or, a bar, whatever it was, that your work community became your life community. And so my original point was, if we are without work in this country, if we are transitioning away from a service economy, and you can't really go backwards. We've moved to a service economy based on all the steps before us through agriculture and manufacturing. Like, what is our work, and how would we ever address community if we have there's nothing bringing us together? And then we got on young people, and that was a whole different, topic. But my original idea was what do we do to build community based on what we have currently?
Well, I think,
and I don't know that has to be gender specific. I don't know that either. Like, maybe we just all, maybe we could.
Yeah, but Monica, I'm not going to talk to you about dude problems.
Will you just talk to me about dude problems for an hour, dude?
I'm not talking about my problems as a dude. I would talk to my friend.
Who's a dude?
Yeah. Say I want to get a vasectomy. I'm not talking to you about it.
Why not?
You want to get your tubes tied. You're not talking to me about it.
But why not?
Because you've never had that experience and I've never had that experience.
But that's not why you talk to somebody about it. If you wanted to talk to me
How
about,
are you telling me why I would or wouldn't talk to somebody about it? What are you talking about?
but like we
maybe
talk
I
about
would.
things that we
Maybe
have
I'm
no
like,
frame
hey,
of
Monica,
reference.
what was it like when you got your vasectomy? You're like, I don't know. I'm like, gee, maybe I should talk to somebody who did.
But I don't just talk to people that I share everything in common
Monica,
with.
you're devaluing what I'm telling you I would talk to somebody about and why I would talk to them. And you're saying
You
no.
could have both. You could have
Lauren,
both.
you can't argue when I'm telling you that I would do something for X reason. And you're like, no, you wouldn't.
I didn't say no, you wouldn't. I just said, why wouldn't you talk to me about your vasectomy?
Because you haven't had one and you don't have balls. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
But would
This
you-
is not that complex.
Would you talk to me about like rowing?
A sport?
Yeah, but I mean that's a part of your life. It's something that I have never done, have no frame of reference, but I'd love to hear
Then
about.
I would probably not talk to you about problems in rowing if I had problems
What
in
about
rowing.
shaving?
Unlikely unless I was shaving down for a swim meet and I had to shave my legs, at which point I would acknowledge that it feels incredible when you shave your legs and you jump into your sheets. Like, I had no idea until I was like 15. I'm like, this feels great.
Well, I want you
No.
to feel comfortable talking about your vasectomy with me.
I don't know what value I would get out of it and what insights you would bring.
Maybe the woman's perspective.
What is your perspective
I don't
that you
know.
would share?
I don't know.
What was your perspective on rowing? Like,
I would
you-
love to be able to row, but I just don't think that I don't know if my arms, it was never an offer here in the
Monica,
the mountains.
I think your drive for equality is being stretched to an absurd point.
Whoa. I
Not
didn't say
gender
equality.
Not gender
I
equality.
just said that we can talk about things that we
Monica.
haven't gone through. Like,
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you want to hear about my menstrual cycles? Is that what you want?
Monica, you could tell me, but I'm not going to pretend that I have some insight.
Oh, well, I didn't know that we only communicated with our same gender for insight purposes.
I'm not saying that you do, but when I'm saying the rowing is not a gender specific thing, that's a skill set and experience thing. I'm not making it gender specific. I'm
You
saying
said that you would only talk to men about your vasectomy, and I'm saying
because
that it's a
and
it's
then
a
you
woman's
brought up
expected.
rowing, and rowing is not a gender specific thing. You were like, would you talk to me about
Do you have-
rowing? And
do you
my
have
question
women on
was,
your rowing team?
no, you don't.
no.
That's not to say that I didn't have friends that were women that were on the women's rowing team.
Was it any different? Did they have any different rules, or could the
You
women?
you just pull on an oar. You just pull as hard as you can for as long as you can, as well as you can. And that's why I asked, have you ever rowed before? Because the question was not, are you a man or a woman? The question is, do you have lived experience in this space that would...
But I have lived experience in the vasectomy space, just not with a vasectomy as in my own person.
Well, then if I asked you what, you think my wife should be doing, I can't believe we're like... Monica,
all we've done is talk about vasectomies and porn addiction.
I don't think that's all we've talked about. We talked about Catholic priests too.
Just to round it out.
And
the
how
KKK.
the Mormons have it locked down because they're good on their text chains. They're forward thinking there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the largest volunteer organization in the world.
That makes sense.
Does it? It didn't make sense to me.
It's a very community oriented.
I don't think the community is an aspect of it. The volunteer just has to be unpaid. So it's not community or not community. It's just that you don't have professionals.
It's built in.
Catholics are a big community, but they have paid priests. It's a different thing.
Yeah, a lot older too. Catholicism is a lot older.
It was
Has a lot of time to, change and adapt. Also, not it's not American.
I think the rabbis are paid too.
Yeah.
Yeah, rabbis got to eat.
I don't know. I have no frame of reference as to what the pay scale is for religious leaders.
Hang on a second, Monica Church. Hang on a second. Listen to me. This is important for me to say. This is really important.
Do you ever watch The Simpsons, where every time when Homer Simpson's laying in bed and he opens a beer at night and Marge says, "What was that?" And he goes, "That's just me saying, psst, I love you."
I can't say I've seen The Simpsons since I was a kid.
Yeah, it is an old episode.
I would like to point out that in the beginning of this conversation, you brought up Idaho politics, and I was like, it's wild, and there's tension. And tension is good. And I can say, of all my friends, I have more tension with you around some things. And I leave every time happy for the tension because you make me think about things differently. And I can't say the same on your end, but we need the tension. Like we need people to beat up our ideas and we need people with the courage to do it to our face. So here's to you, Monica Church.
Oh, well, here's to you. I feel the exact same way.
You shouldn't, but
I enjoy it. Like we have to be able to have the conversation. The conversation we just had, most people would have quit at moment one or been so uncomfortable that they would have shifted it to the weather.
Which is unseasonably odd, by the way.
It is.
Here's something for you. A little snippet actually having to do with the weather. There was an article that came out that said Bogus Basin used 1 million gallons of water to create their sledding hill or something. And I heard this and if people were disapproving of it. They're like, we're in a drought. Like we're talking about water infrastructure, all these things, and they're using 1 million gallons. First off, 1 million gallons is literally 3 acre feet. It's nothing. Yeah. You allocate 4 acre feet to an acre of agriculture. So it's less than 1 acre usage of agriculture water. Second, the actual waste in that is not the water. It's the electricity. Because turning water that we have, liquid water that we're getting in snowfall that would otherwise just flow down the river and say goodbye into snowpack that will slowly melt throughout the spring. That's probably the best thing you could do. Because aside from having a reservoir that stores 1 million gallons, there you go. It's like, no, we made our own little like ice cube that will slowly melt later. So God bless it, man. Like people are doing wild things in the state and it's cool. It's cool that we're doing it.
I just read an article recently about data centers and that we need to shift from talking about the amount of water for a very similar reason that the water is a recycled system that is not nowhere
like the CUNA
near
data center.
Yeah, it's nowhere near what ag uses in a comparable space.
They need 500,000 gallons. It's like, dude, that is literally a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, electricity is. I mean, that is something to consider, like how we get it. But
yeah, you big fan of nuclear, are you?
Small nuclear reactors, I love it. But workforce, we've got to have a workforce. And if we are opposed to bringing in people from out of state or out of country, then we better be building nuclear scientists here in Idaho. And that's going to take some funding and some directional changes on the way that we view education. So yeah, I'm all in, but I also am all in for Idaho. I would like those reactors to be made in Idaho. I would like them to be powered by Idaho. I would like INL to be in agreement that they are in Idaho, whether they are a federal entity or not. And I'd like the Department of Energy to do what it promised to do and get the nuclear waste from the 1940s and early 50s out of the ground before we agree to anything else.
When you want the nuclear waste gone, do you just want it gone categorically or do you want gone like what they're doing with it? Like you do realize like there's recycling capacity and value in it. Like there's a monetary value there.
Yeah, some of the new stuff. Yes. I'm talking about the old stuff that was the original agreement, some of which we don't even know. Some of it they're like, we just don't even want, we can't even move it. I want a contract that was agreed to be complete before I enter into a new one. And back to the trust issue, trust but verify, no verification. I do not trust the Department of Energy as far as I could throw it. And until they prove that they can uphold their end of the bargain from 1995 and then even prior, I'm not ready to engage in another contract. But when they do that, all in, Idaho workforce, Idaho reactors, let's do it.
Yeah, I hopefully will be going to Pocatello soon and go do some interviews with the nuclear professors.
Yeah,
which I'm so all for.
I know. I heard you in another interview say that they had a nuclear reactor, and I remember from the thing that they have 3.
Dude, they have them everywhere. Like it's what you know. What's so amazing? People are so hot to defund higher education. You know who's coming on the show soon? You don't. I'm going to tell you. This guy Sam Eaton. You know Sam Eaton?
Why do I know? The name sounds familiar.
Potato Sam. Okay. He's the lobbyist for the Idaho, I think, potato, or I don't know if it's lobbyist, but he's a dude in the Idaho potato. And there is it's like powder skin or something. There's a disease, a potato disease. Okay. That's like, potatoes in Idaho. There's a potato disease that's really bad. And they're working with University of Idaho to figure out what to do. Like either, something. And I'm screwing up, botching it completely. But it's like, okay, we have the potato industry in Idaho. Okay. And it's a real industry and it's serious. Okay. And the potato industry itself doesn't have the research facilities and capacity to find solutions. So they go to University of Idaho and marry with the academics and researchers. They fund this research, and the university system, they just pump out. It's like pink slime, like for, chicken McNuggets. They just pump out. They're like, here's the answer. This is what you need to do. And, is it sometimes flawed? Yes. Is it sometimes inaccurate? Probably. Is it sometimes or most of the time accurate? Yes. That's why they keep going back, right? So they figure out these solutions, and it's done through the university system. So if we didn't have that system, if we didn't have that incubation chamber for all of this stuff, we would be done. Like the industry in Idaho would be done. We so desperately need the research and capacity that comes out of our higher education system in Idaho to continue functioning well, like world-class well, because we don't need answers in 10 months. We need answers like 10 hours ago. And it blows me out. He's coming on to talk about that. He's also coming on to talk about tariffs and, Japan's protectionism with their own potato crop and whatnot.
If somebody asked me what I think is the greatest concern about some of the changes that have happened in the last couple of years, it would be I am most concerned about the lack of grant funding that has gone out to our research universities, of which we have, a 2 and a 1 up at the university. I don't know what Idaho State is, so excuse me. But the University of Idaho is a level 1 research university. But those grants,
I think it's level 2, isn't it?
Boise State's level 2. They're
no.
They're
I'm pretty sure U of I is. Wait, isn't level 2 like the more advanced
level
one?
1. You want to be a level 1 research, an R1.
And
I
thought it was
Boise
R2.
State's not quite there. They've got to have like a couple more PhDs. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Come on, Boise State. The Division of Research is doing a thing with. I'm going to work with them to like showcase some of their research stuff. I'm very excited.
They need like those grants for research. I mean, that is how the United States became the United States. Is that the federal government granted universities enough money to do amazing research that led to X, Y, and Z. And so to Idaho's ag industry, every industry has at some point a thank you to subsidized research at our universities. And so I think one of the biggest concerns is that we don't have that money, and that the scientists who are still going to want to do science, let's hope that they stay. But the brain drain capacity that could happen by not having the ability to do that research and like fleeing to another, country is huge. And then in Idaho,
they're not fleeing to another country. They're just fleeing to another state. Like they'll go somewhere else.
Or to another country. I mean, we've had a lot of, expatriate. How do you say that word? Expatriatization. Saying that 5 times fast.
That's a big one. To where? Canada?
No, mostly to Germany, oddly enough.
That's a bad call.
Yeah,
if you're moving to Germany.
Did you see that the trust countries? So for the first time, the United States went below 10 in this poll that's gone on, for forever and ever.
Do you actually believe polls? I don't.
It's like the consumer price index. It's
I got you.
It's less of a like, how do you feel, and more based on these criteria. Anyway, the U.S. had never been below 10. We're now at 14. But the weirder part is that for the first time since World War II, the number 1 and number 2 most trusted countries are Japan and Germany. So, I mean, it's a bizarre world, but I do very much worry about the vitriol toward research in higher ed.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Okay. I received this from a friend of mine, and he was like, look, I'm really, really worried about this. And I'm going to read you what it is. Okay. So it's,
is this like the bus picture without the kids in it?
No. It's the current GOP.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So current GOP, and this was a poll. Okay. these are things that people were told and they were supposed to say true, don't know, or false. Okay, so for instance, one was vaccines cause, problems, right? Or NASA faked the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing, or COVID-19 was a laboratory experiment out of China, right? All of these things. And again, you have varying, we don't need to go into it, but you have varying levels. And it's like, how do you unpack, because some of these are like over 50% believe it, under 50% believe it, but like a large portion of the GOP believes, all over the place. You know, it was wild. All of these conspiracies, 2020 U.S. presidential election was decided by fraudulent votes. 9/11 terror attack was at least orchestrated or permitted by the U.S. Holocaust was greatly exaggerated. Like wild things, right? They don't have JFK on there. Okay, so in the poll of conspiracy theories, where the U.S. government is involved, they no longer even ask people if JFK was a thing. And to me, I read that. I'm like, I don't care how many people think the moon landing was faked. I don't care how many people are like 9/11 truthers. But I spoke to Representative Anna Luna when I was in DC a couple months ago, and she was like, the U.S. government was absolutely involved. This is a current elected congresswoman from Florida, absolutely involved in the assassination of JFK. And just to know that, it's like, man, there are a lot of things that I think you could criticize people for being concerned about, 100%. But this is a very, very difficult time, I think, in American history for anybody to believe in the government.
Well, I don't know that it's any different than before. Frank Church was the architect of the Church Committee, which uncovered many of those original conspiracies, including the FBI and the CIA's wiretapping, including their participation in the death of Martin Luther King, including the attempted overtake of communist countries and Castro and Cuba, and just on and on and on and on. They were all proven to be, in fact, not conspiracies but true. And JFK was part of that same parcel, but all that information, of course, had been classified to the highest extent. Monica,
where do we go?
Back
to the original question. How do we get out of this mess?
I don't know.
Like here, you and I are sitting here, two patriotic Idahoans.
I know. I just want everyone to trust the government a little bit more. You're right. But at the same time, I completely understand both from a revolutionary mindset, what the United States started out as and why we are, predisposed to be skeptical. And then also how many times the government has proven itself to be untrustworthy.
And who's even pulling the strings for the U.S. now? Like, here's a question. What? And I've mentioned this once or twice before, but I can't get away from it. Like, what was the last state that had lobotomies legal?
Well, it was 1976 was the last time that women were sterilized for being feeble-minded.
Okay. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, it's like, what are we living through right now that in 50 years, people can be like, dude, what was the last state to allow X? And I had Jim Jones on, a former attorney general, and
I know Jim Jones,
very respected man, and I appreciate him greatly for coming on the show and expressing his opinion.
I don't think I watched that one.
I've had him on a couple times. Okay. I very much enjoy him, and there was a time when we got into he posited, he was like, how is the Idaho legislature's position to disagree with the National Association of Pediatricians? And I was like took a deep breath, and I don't know what the protocol is for that. I don't know how you work your way through this as two Americans sitting here, it's like, I don't know how you work this out, but I do know that we have a rich history of screwing things up, and then there are states that lead the way. Here's one for you. I don't think under any circumstance in any world that you should go to the YMCA and there should be a dude there in the locker room with you. I don't think that should ever exist. I don't think you should ever have to be in that space. You're not a large woman. Like, no shade on you at all. Like, no woman, large or small, should have to be showering next to a dude if she doesn't want to, like, under no circumstance. Okay. Now, that being said, I don't know about anything. I just know that, like, I wouldn't want that for you. And I don't, but the point is, like, there are states where that happens right now. So it's like, what's the last state? Or is it that, like, we're the last state to not allow that? Maybe we're the idiots. I don't know, but one person's going to play out to be right in the long run, right? It's either going to be like, hey, look, men are men, women are women, and like, or at least those spaces, or it's going to be like, no, like Starship Trooper style, like everybody's in the shower together.
Or can we just have single stalls? I mean, I hear you and I appreciate you worried about my safety. I mean, I hate to bring this back up again, and I'm going to go hard left in a second, but do you also worry about young men in locker rooms with
women?
Giant men? I mean, if we historically say, you know, where has abuse most often been a problem in locker rooms? Is it men in women's locker rooms or men in men's locker rooms with young men? I'm just saying. Like,
I don't know what you're saying.
Are you as concerned about men with men in locker rooms as I mean, I don't really know. Like, why are you worried about me in a locker room with a man?
Because classically, that hasn't been a question that we have to answer.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. So I guess I don't, but like, why are you so worried about it?
Because that's something that has apparently
but
been
there has been problems with young men and older men in locker rooms.
And I think
we haven't dealt with that.
Well, I don't. Okay,
I mean, we
so
don't
what's
talk
the
about
solution?
I don't know.
Okay, so here's a solution.
The solution is everybody has their own bathrooms and their own showers, and we just don't have locker rooms. I mean, that's pretty. That would be great.
A very easy solution for men not abusing women or making women feel bad in women's locker rooms is don't allow men in women's locker rooms. That's an easy solution in my head. The solution for the number of people, the number of men who have been hurt by other men in locker rooms is not zero. How do you deal with that? Okay, I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't even want to say it's crazy. I don't want to belittle it. Okay, that's a problem. I don't know how to solve that. But I do know that no women could ever be hurt by men in women's locker rooms if men couldn't get into women's locker rooms. And that's
like we're like,
no,
the whole problem is like men in places.
Exclusive.
They're like men in places is the problem. I'm just
Fine.
saying, like,
men are the problem, Monica. Just say it.
Let's just
like,
have
Monica.
Let's just
I
have
think
our
you.
own locker.
I think you just really.
I don't want to say that. You said that.
No,
like you brought up.
You just said.
I wanted to bring up this.
Just said the whole problem is men in places. You just said that.
That's what you are saying. You're like, I want to protect you from men in places, and I said, what about men in these other places? And you're like, no, I want to protect you.
I didn't say no. These are two different ideas. Why not side with me and say, hey, you're right.
Vaccines in Alabama. That's what I wanted to talk about.
I don't know why you would not acknowledge these are two separate issues. You don't have to counter my point with like a different, more complex.
My point is that it's a locker room problem, that there are many instances of abuse in locker rooms, and perhaps we just need to not have individuals who do not know each other hanging out together in locker rooms. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. I don't want to. That's just like I'm not. Right,
so your solution to men in women's locker rooms is to make
you brought that problem up. I don't know that it's a problem. I've never seen a man in a locker room. Like, this is not a problem.
Great. I love that. Okay. I love that for you.
Okay.
I 100% support that for you. Great. And I didn't say that you had. I'm saying I don't think you ever should be subject to it unless you wanted it. It's like,
I didn't. Okay. I guess I just didn't. I didn't bring it up as a problem that needed you to solve. What we were talking about is distrust in government.
I brought it up as an example of it's going to play out one way or another in the long run, and either Idaho will be right or Idaho will be wrong. And we will figure it out.
I don't know that that's the question, though. Is it,
Monica, I'm just saying that in 50 years, there will be a position that the United States took. That's all I'm saying, like the lobotomy.
But I think it'll be, do you remember when
we had
people
group locker rooms?
Yeah, that's what I think it'll be. Do you remember when we had group locker rooms? And people were like, that was so weird. I'm so glad that we don't have group locker rooms anymore. So weird. That's what I think.
Group locker rooms have not been okay. Okay, so instead of addressing the simple one of like,
no, the simple one is that locker rooms are awkward, and it's awkward.
Do you, if you're amongst only women, biological
it's awkward.
Women, you feel a need? You're like, I wish we all just had our own locker room.
Yes, and my own shower.
And your own look, that sounds fantastic.
Great.
I mean, but like from
Also,
a pragmatic standpoint, that seems pretty much impossible. Because if you walk into the YMCA and you count the number of lockers they have, and you're like, okay, we would have to have, if there are 200 lockers here, 300, 400 lockers,
saying, but
we would have to have 400 locker rooms.
In 100 years, I bet we're like, that is crazy that we did it that way.
In 100 years, I bet there's no more land to build 400 lockers for each gender at the YMCA.
Maybe, I don't know. I just
listen.
I don't know if I don't know if it's a problem or if we will ever look back and say that we understood the problem and we collectively solved it because we had some kind of gender issue. I think that the problem is just lockers, but that was not the original thing. We were talking about distrust in government.
Yeah, and just not having it right in the long run.
But okay, but that. You said that government shouldn't solve things earlier when it comes to how people engage in community and yada, yada, yada. But in this case, with the locker rooms, like the government's very much involved in a place that, I mean, it seems interesting to me. I don't know.
I think what you're trying to say is I'm acting in a manner that seems hypocritical to you.
Well, I just don't know why one place would need intervention and one wouldn't.
Well, one is people having the right to congregate and group and form, self-selected groups, and the government intervening and saying, no, you don't have the right to assemble. That's one. And the other is, can that dude go into that locker room with the ladies? Okay, so when I'm saying,
are men asking to go into women's locker rooms? I just don't know that this is a problem. Like, okay, I don't know that this.
Monica, hang on. Men? Listen, I'm happy to be a hypocrite as long as we articulate what I'm being hypocritical about. When I'm like, hey man, when you're like, maybe the government should step in and prevent people from self-assembling.
When there's a problem that needs solving.
Hang on. I don't know what that means. That's a really loose term.
Well, that's when the government stepped in.
Well, Monica, because we could acknowledge that let's pick on the Catholic Church. There are bad Catholic priests. The government didn't step in and stop the Catholicism from existing.
Tuskegee syphilis study. We were so close.
What's that? Did you say the Tuskegee syphilis where they like stabbed the African American dudes with the
that's what I
the
wanted
spine?
To talk about.
Why, Monica?
Government.
You may be the more ADD person in the room, which is amazing to me.
There is no question.
My point is like you can't like the preventing the right to assemble, to freely assemble would be profoundly crazy to me.
And we did that in many instances. Back to our original thing. Why are these groups no longer as prominent as they once were? Because the government stepped in and denied the right to assemble based on the fact that there were systemic abuses and others. And
the Catholic Church still meets for Mass. What are you talking about? Okay,
but
name a group that no longer exists because of predation from older men.
Well, you're the one that said that these groups are on the decline.
No, I'm asking you to support your claim.
The Boy Scouts.
Okay, Boy Scouts still exist.
Well, not in its same fashion.
Okay, did the government say Boy Scouts cannot exist?
Well, I mean, they stepped in and made a lot of different rules as to what happens.
I don't understand what you're saying to me. You're saying they're preventing them, and I'm saying how.
That the government has stepped in when organizations have violated whatever principle of coming together and assembling. I'm just saying that there was no violation of assembly with a locker room. Like, what problem was there in assembly?
Things.
No, we are not.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We 100% are.
Okay. All right.
How are you bringing the Boy Scouts up and making it analogous to men in women's spaces?
Like,
That's not appropriate.
Like what? Okay, I like
Monica, look,
I don't think there are men in women's spaces. Where is this happening?
Am I going crazy?
Yes.
Have I gone crazy?
Like,
do you not? Are you not
line
familiar with Riley Gaines? Am I going crazy?
Like, I've never ever had an instance of, women being fearful of going into a locker room because they think that men are going to come in there.
Okay, I'm glad that is your experience. Are you unaware of what has happened in the United States with very specific notable cases? Because there's a loophole within the regulatory bodies that allow men to go into women's spaces. Are you unaware of that? I'm not asking you if I'm not asking you, Monica, you're not answering the question.
I didn't know that there was a fundamental loophole that allows that. No, I didn't.
Then why? Okay, are you unaware of the fact that Riley Gaines, a woman, biological woman, had to compete against a biological man, and in now those victories or whatever have been overturned, and they're like, no,
but
this actually
isn't fair. What does that have to do with locker rooms,
Monica? What I'm saying is, men in women's spaces.
You want to protect me from that? Like, what is the fear? I'm not talking about sports. I'm saying, what is the fear that you need to protect me from in my locker room that I am unaware of, that I should be afraid of, that you want to protect me from using law?
I would like you to never have to worry about if there is a male in the women's locker room.
Okay.
Now, if you're like, hey, man, you're a bigot because of that, or you are flawed because of that, okay, like, that's fine. I also happen to be married to a woman who was a D1 athlete and was an absolute savage. And by the way,
how would you feel if I said I would like to protect you from women in your locker room?
First, I would ask you how many men are preyed upon or hurt from women.
Great. Okay. Great. In locker rooms.
Okay. That's my question.
My question too. How many women are preyed upon by men going into locker rooms?
More than women preying upon men.
Show me the data.
Okay, if it's one, I win.
And my
Monica,
first response was
you're defaulting.
The number one
Monica,
problem in locker rooms is men on men. Monica, that is the highest violation.
You are defaulting back to your point is invalid unless you can supply me with requisite data right now. You're
solving problems that aren't like this is the problem. Like you need to save me from a thing that
I don't need to save you.
The only proven problem in locker rooms historically has been older men on younger men or men on men being accosted in locker rooms. I mean, Monica, give me one example of a man going into a woman's locker room in Idaho and accosting her.
Monica, I'm not sitting here telling you that I have some data of criminal records.
You said you wanted to save me from this, though. Like, what are you saving me from?
If I said save, let me rephrase. I would like to make sure that you do not have to ever consider when entering a women's locker room if you will be in there with a biological male. Is that a clear statement?
But
no. All you have to do is acknowledge
that I am worried about that.
Monica, I'm not. I am just saying I would like you to never have to think about that. And if you're saying
I never thought about it,
Monica, that's fine. Okay. But you're not acknowledging my clear siloed statement.
Okay. Well,
and if you're saying, hey man, I acknowledge that you don't want me to ever think about that. Good news for you, Matt. I don't think about that.
I also don't know that I need a law about it either.
I'm not a legislator and I'm not proposing laws. I am an idiot in a garage. And I am saying all I would like for you and my wife and every other woman in the state of Idaho and the country and the world, frankly, is if you're entering a space that you anticipate there should not be men, and there are, I think that's bad. And I also think, so one, anticipation. What I think should be there is in fact there as women. Okay, great. That's first what I want. And you've made a very, very clear point that the most dangerous player in all of this are some predatory men, either men on men or men on women. Men are the problem. You've made that abundantly clear.
I think you made it clear.
That's
You're
fine.
saving me.
That's fine. You keep using the word
Protecting
save.
me. You're protecting me.
You keep using words that I'm not
said
saying.
protect.
I said I would like you to not have to think.
Okay.
So you keep changing the words that I'm using, and I think in an inflammatory manner to belittle you. And I am not. I'm not saving you. I'm not protecting you. I'm not rescuing you. I'm doing none of these things. I'm specifically not doing any of them, and I'm not proposing legislation to do any of them because I don't propose legislation because I'm a nobody. What I don't know what else could be said besides you have made it abundantly clear that the biggest risk factor in all of this is men. Now, men in general have a greater capacity to defend themselves from other men than you're 5'3".
A child.
Sure, a child.
I just want you to to protect all people.
Yes,
in
but
places.
I can't protect.
Sure, you can.
I can't. Wait.
Individual locker rooms.
Monica, what you're saying is great. And if we had, 20-story buildings, or if we had 10 times the amount of property that we currently have in the world, I think it would be a viable solution. I don't see that being a solution in the current iteration of commercial buildings for places that have locker rooms. So that being said, what I am saying is that I think this is kind of like a no-brainer. You're identifying men as a big risk, and I'm saying that men are the biggest risk, then for sure the people.
I did not say that they're a risk in women's locker rooms. That's not what I said.
I didn't say that. I didn't say. You're saying they're the biggest risk in general.
I said that the greatest amount of data about locker rooms and violation of people's personal sovereignty is men on men in locker rooms. So I'm not sure that women need protected. Men need protected.
Great.
So protect them in their locker room, please.
Listen, I'm not in a position to protect anyone.
Oh, okay.
Because I am a nobody.
No.
I don't propose laws. I don't vote on laws. I don't do any of that. And if you're saying if somebody brought a bill forward that prevented men from entering women's locker rooms, you would say, screw you.
I would ask, what is the problem we are solving with government?
Monica, the mental gymnastics you're jumping through now.
Okay, but
you're not.
Let me. Strange conversation.
You're not answering any question directly.
What's the question?
Monica,
would I vote for a law?
Listen. I'm just telling you, you can feel however you want, and God bless it. Okay. And I am just saying that I would not like any woman in the state of Idaho to worry or have a question in her head about her entering a locker room, a space that she anticipates is exclusively female, to not be exclusively female. If you enter a space that is co-ed, and you're like, hey man, I'm going to you played sports. What'd you play?
I did not.
You did not.
I was a debater.
Okay. If you entered a debate.
And it was a sport, and I lettered 3 times. Thank you.
That's awesome.
All right.
I lettered in band as well. Anyway, my point is, we didn't have a debate team. My point is, whatever people are anticipating, I think that should be it. I think if they anticipate entering a co-ed space,
okay,
whatever, co-ed space, then they should receive that. If they think they're entering a gender specific space, they should receive that. I think that is very clear. So remove.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I can agree with that if it is very clearly written. Yeah, and I worry about young men too. I want them to feel comfortable entering a space. I want all people to feel comfortable entering the spaces that they want to be in, for sure. And if it says under 18 only, I don't want anyone over 18 in there. So absolutely. I want people to feel comfortable in their own skin and in their own places.
So then
I just don't know that there's a problem necessarily to solve.
You are aware that nationally people are arguing that men should be allowed to go into women's
And
locker
I'm
rooms.
saying, well, I don't know anyone's arguing that they should. I'm saying that the fundamental issue is that there's a problem with locker rooms.
There wasn't a problem with locker rooms that
Are you saying that men just started doing this? Like just like in the last year? Like it never happened before in human history and it just started?
No. What
Oh.
I'm saying is,
Okay.
20 years ago, or let's say 30 years ago, I don't recall anybody saying, hey man, we need to pass some laws about locker rooms.
We definitely said we needed, laws barring, certain groups from facilities. So we definitely had lots of laws about that. Like,
what do you mean?
Like women only, or men only, or white only, or black only, or no, gay people, or we definitely had lots of laws about who could enter into spaces for a long time.
Okay, like I don't sure, like restricted, black only, white only, those types of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, pre-19, what was it? 60? What was when the 67?
Well, 65 is the
65,
Civil Rights Act.
There you go.
Though it's
Okay, so like
Jim Crow didn't end overnight.
What we're talking about, I think specifically, is risk of predation or abuses from people in locker rooms, not race specific or religion specific. So like Jews, obviously there was in parallel, there was like the restricted, where it's like you were white, but you were a Jew, so you couldn't go in because like those were great places to go. So that's like,
so historically, we had issues.
Historically, there have been other issues. What I'm saying is what we're talking about is over-inclusion in spaces that are defined by something, and then people want to fuzzy the definition.
And I'm saying the reason that we aren't talking about Jewish people being barred, or black people or white people being barred from different places, is because people fuzzied those places. And the same argument was happening, that how dare there be inclusion in these well-defined areas.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. Do you think men should be allowed to go into women's locker rooms?
I don't see it. It's not a problem.
No, I didn't ask that.
Men going
Should men go into women's locker rooms?
But see, should they?
Should they be allowed to go into women's locker rooms?
No, if it is.
No, you said no?
Well, if it's for a nefarious reason,
no.
like men go in there because they have small girl children. There is a gray area. If the overall goal is an inclusive society in which a locker room is for everyone,
Monica,
I just don't have any issue. But
you're looking at an exception.
If
Men
50
with a small
years ago, if I asked you if
Monica, hang on,
black people should be allowed in your white people spaces, what would you say?
You're equating racism with should men be allowed in women's locker rooms.
I'm just saying that
this is a ridiculous comparison.
Have fuzzy things that in 50 years we may look back and say, you remember when we fought about these things? It is not as black and white as you're making it. I don't
Then help me understand. Outside of you have a young girl, should I be allowed to go into your locker room?
Why are you going in there?
You're
what
not
does
answering the
allowed
question.
Mean? No,
You're
you cannot.
You're not answering the question.
You cannot
Monica.
go into a place where you are trying to violate or hurt somebody. Zero. No.
Should I be allowed to go in?
If it says
women, should I be able to go in? This is my point. But you're not answering the question. And that's fine that you don't answer it. I just want to acknowledge you're not answering it. And that's fine.
But I don't know what the question is.
My question is, could not be more plain.
It feels veiled.
My question could not be.
Should you be allowed? No, you should not be allowed.
Why?
Because you have no reason to be in there.
What do you mean?
Like, are you going in there because your locker room is filled? Are you going in there because your daughter is in there and she forgot her swimsuit? Are you going in there because yours is being cleaned and they told you to go through to get to the pool there? Like, why are you going in there? Why are you going in there?
Without an exception, like my daughter is crying in there,
No.
you could bring up a million. What you're saying is that we can't make a rule because there might be an exception.
Well, I don't know what the rule is.
Should I be allowed to go into the locker room that says women?
Under certain conditions.
Sure. My daughter had a heart attack and she's dying. Okay. Yeah, great.
Okay.
What you're doing is dodging making a rule because there might be an exception.
Right.
My daughter slipped, cracked her head.
No,
she's on the bench.
I'm dodging government getting involved in making laws for things that I don't know what the problem is. Like, show me the problem.
I'm not asking you to make a law.
Oh.
I'm asking you, in principle, should I be allowed to go without some egregious exception?
If you were in my locker room at the Y, I don't know that I would think twice about it. I would probably assume that you had a little girl or that there was some kind of issue. Maybe you worked there. I would just assume that there was something.
You're answering the question.
You're answering the question for you being in there.
The question you're answering is, would you think twice if I was in your locker room? And that is not the question I'm asking.
But,
and it's fine. I told
you you should not be allowed unless
there's some exceptions. Okay, great.
It's the only reason that you would be in there.
Great. Okay, so your answer is, which is awesome.
Yes.
Hey, Matt, you should not be in there.
No, my answer is yes, you can be in there.
For these very tiny select exception reasons.
The only time that you should not be in there is if you are in there to accost somebody, and then that's a different law.
What if I'm not accosting them? What if I'm just standing there?
If you're just standing and watching people, whether you're a woman watching women or a man watching women, and you are being weird, then no, you shouldn't be in there. But that's nothing to do with your gender. So there are laws in place for accosting people in any public space. If you are in there for a multitude of different reasons that I don't need to ask you about because I'm going to assume that it is one of them, unless you do something totally insane like accost somebody or are like staring oddly, then that is a different law. That is a violation. That's totally different. Men are in women's spaces all the time. Women are in men's spaces all the time.
When?
When you have a little kid and they need to go to the bathroom. When you have a little kid and they need to get changed. When you have, there's so many places. You know how many men's bathrooms I have been in at concerts? There are a million times that this happens.
Wait, why are you in the men's bathroom at concerts?
Because women's bathrooms always have the long line.
Okay, Monica, look. The beautiful thing is, I think you've made your position clear. And that's great.
It's just not an issue.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. Great. Locker rooms for everyone.
Locker rooms for everyone.
Yeah. Or don't get changed in the locker room. Go home.
That's fine too.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Be comfy where you are.
Change in your car in the parking lot.
You could do that too.
Yeah. Look, you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And if you feel like it's not an issue and you feel like it's not, like, you're the legislator, I'm not. So if you're like, hey man, I don't like laws around this, and that's totally fine. It's 1,000% fine. Because we live in a representative democracy. You are supposed to represent people. And if you were like, hey man, the people I represent, they don't complain to me about this crap. And so is it a priority of me?
What they complain about is victims' rights. They complain about the judicial process when somebody is accosted. They complain about the opportunity to present their evidence, whether it's a rape kit or have access to police officers or EMS or fire being, quickly on a scene. Those are things that are truly an issue. Like, if we're trying to protect individuals, protect them where these things are happening, or when the law has failed to provide due process.
You know what's really interesting? And by the way, I greatly appreciate everything you just said. Deeply. Because I think you are right. These are the things that need to get focused. We need to get a hold of Ada County Sheriff. I'm like, hey man, how many problems with men and women's bathrooms have you had? Okay, great. That whatever number that is, not great, but like, okay, here's that number. And then like, okay, how many other problems have you had along the things that you just said? You know what's interesting to me? I think this issue has dominated conversations like this one. You know, it's dominated because it's almost like, do we agree that 1 + 1 is 2? And this has become the bellwether for that thing, or at least this is one of those things that's like, holy cow. Like, if we can't agree on this, I'm not going to agree with you on the budget. Like, cause we can't like, and I think that's probably why people get so anxious about it. Cause they're like, oh, wait a minute, man. And that gets really tricky to me, right? Like in my former state, I remember there was this person who got really upset because her 14-year-old daughter after dance class went and changed in the locker room at a high school. And there was a boy in there, 16 years old or something. And the girl was like, that's a dick for sure. And she was like, I'm not happy with the little 14-year-old girl after dance class. Right. And so she left and she told her mom, and her mom's like, what? There was a dude changing? Like, no, that's not and she was, you know, mom was not happy about this little 14-year-old girl in the locker room. And what ended up transpiring is the school and the community at large shamed the mom and daughter. And that to me was like, what? Like, if this poor like girl just after, like, can she not go? Is there not? And then it's like, well, we'll make accommodations for you. We'll get you your own locker room because you're uncomfortable in the group locker room. It's like, with the dudes in here, like, I'm the problem.
Was it a group locker room?
It was a women's locker room. Women, plural, right? So group as in female-oriented locker room.
So
there's this poor little 14-year-old girl.
What was the issue? Why was
the issue
boy
is
in
this
there?
girl that he claimed that he was a girl and he wanted to be in the women's locker room.
Okay.
You know, and still intact, the whole thing. Like, none of my affair. Like, I don't know. There's like, the point is, I saw that and it was like, holy cow, man. Like, the fact that this poor mom is shamed and ostracized within the community, and this daughter is just for saying like, hey man, like, I would like a locker room where like my daughter, 14-year-old girl, can go, you know, with confidence and not be next to a male. You know, that was one of those things where it's like, yeah, if somebody's going to tell you that that's okay, I don't know that we could ever really come together.
See, that's my thing is that, like, what we are talking about is not the issue. That when I was in school, there was always rumors about, you know, the PE teacher, whomever, you know, being a lesbian and, like, you know, watching the girls, or the, you know, the PE teacher being a gay man and watching the boys. Like, that was the rumor, right? That was the creeper in the locker room. Like, oh no, you've got, you know, lesbians watching girls and gay men watching, you know, boys. That was the whole thing. That was the 80s and the 90s. We were so obsessed with, you know, these people watching in locker rooms. And now, I think we finally hit the nail on the head. Now, you know, people are concerned with, you know, transgendered individuals being in locker rooms, watching other people in locker rooms. And I'm saying, obviously, we have a problem with locker rooms. Like, communal locker rooms make people feel uncomfortable and have historically. So let's just not do that. I had my daughter choose not to do PE because just even thinking about how uncomfortable PE was for me, and had nothing to do with whether people were watching or not watching me, it's just uncomfortable. Like, the whole locker room scenario is uncomfortable. Don't want to do it. Told her she did not have to do it. So never engaged in a locker room. I don't know that my daughter will ever be in a communal locker room. I don't know. I don't know that will ever be part of her existence.
Because she's not going to go to like places that have communal locker rooms?
Yeah. Like, I think that we are moving away from communal locker rooms. It is such a strange conversation. And what I'm telling you is that it has been a strange conversation long before this idea of, you know, men in women's locker rooms or women in men's locker rooms or who's in whose locker room. Like, just be done with the communal locker room. It obviously icks people out long before today.
Yeah, okay.
So let's just
I hear
be
that,
done.
But
like, we make it a political issue We made it about gay people. Now we're making it about trans people. Let's just not hang out in communal locker rooms.
I don't think that's fair, Monica.
Why? Like, it
because
just doesn't, like,
the 14-year-old girl standing next to
This
in
is
her
one
wait, don't
story.
interrupt. Come on, that's not fair.
One story. There are 380 million people in this country.
Monica, hang on. I'm not telling you that I know the way to write the law. What I'm telling you is I don't think it's fair for you to equate somebody saying like, hey, that PE teacher over there, I think she's a lesbian. Okay, is the same as a 14-year-old girl in her underwear looking to her right and seeing an intact 16-year-old male. I don't think these. Wait! Before you just you're already talking.
Happening?
You're already talking.
Why is anybody looking around?
Monica, you're already
I've never
talking.
Seen a naked person
already
in a locker room.
talking.
Oh my gosh!
Listen.
It's just
real
so
talk.
Weird.
Real talk.
The people are so
Monica,
obsessed with what is happening in locker rooms.
I don't think people are obsessed.
What?
I can't even get out something before you start talking.
Because it's just so weird to me.
What would you say to this mom?
What would I say to the mom? I would figure out the situation.
There's nothing to figure out. There's a dude there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You got a 14-year-old girl in underwear, and there's a dude next to her. I'm telling you the whole story. This is all the data you need. What would you tell that mom? Shame on you.
No.
Well, that's what the community said.
I don't know. I do not know.
I'm telling you that's what the community said.
Okay.
I'm not. It's not you. You didn't do it. I'm not mad at you.
I would say historically, how often have we had issues in locker rooms? And the principal of that school would say, since the dawn of time, there are fights in locker rooms. There are girls that feel uncomfortable in locker rooms. There are boys that feel uncomfortable in locker rooms.
So that's what you tell this mom?
Like, we had a huge incident at my high school with teachers using the locker room and whether or not that was appropriate, same gender, whether or not it was appropriate to see, your teachers or your coach or community members who are adults naked in a locker room that is school when it's open, yada, yada. We had that, one, I think in like Emmett or something. Like, locker rooms are historically places where people feel uncomfortable. I'm saying if we know without a doubt that there are going to be instances in which people feel uncomfortable and could potentially be violated, then let's not have those places.
Okay. I hear everything you just said.
Great.
That's not a viable solution in our current world.
Sure it is.
How?
Well, we could get rid of locker rooms in schools. Like, they don't need to be there.
Okay. How do you produce, let's say, 400 individualized rooms?
Well, you don't need to do PE in school, for one.
Okay, eliminate PE.
Okay.
Great. You go to the YMCA. You got 400 lockers. How do you produce 400 individual rooms?
You don't. You provide a few, and people have to pay if they want to use them. Otherwise, you go home. You do not have to shower at your gym. You do not have to do that. That is not a right provided to you under the Constitution.
No. Nobody's saying it is.
No, there are 5 bathrooms. Maybe they have showers in them and a door lock. Maybe there are specific locker rooms with showers in them individually that you can pay for. Like anything else, you just do not need group locker rooms. Just no more. Like, let's just stop having this conversation. It's weird.
So
it's
then
weird.
The law is you can't have group locker rooms.
Sure. That I'm down with that. Building code, no group locker rooms. Moving forward.
Well, that would solve one problem, I suppose.
Yes, it would.
Holy shit. There's not enough gluten-free IPA beer in the world for this right now. What are you doing tonight? It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's going abroad next year. She's a Rotary scholar.
Oh,
and so she's going to spend her junior year.
A smart kid, damn it.
And
that's awesome.
A motivated kid. I mean, yes, I believe my daughter's smart.
Can you hang on one second? I know you love me, but hate me at the same time. I think that's the summation of this conversation. And you're going to hate me even more after this because I'm never letting these glasses go.
Oh, you love them?
I think they're incredible.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset that I've never had them before.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of that brand, but the kids love it.
The kids love it.
They do.
I think this is one of the longest podcasts I've ever done.
Well, it was really important conversations here.
These are important conversations. These are wild times. We live in a wild world, and I think there are problems that need to be hashed out. And they're like, I understand your perspective very well now. And I can tell you conclusively, I understand the issue differently now. That's not to say that like agree, disagree, but like, good Lord, man. I don't know that I ever would have been able to get that view of it. Like nobody's ever brought up, hey man, locker rooms have always been a problem. And by the way, I don't disagree. Like I hated the locker rooms.
It's so weird.
They're so bad.
It's the worst.
They're so bad. And like, maybe we do get away from, having communal locker rooms where like the old dude is there, like scrubbing his, like, dude.
Think about how many sitcoms have weird, creepy issues with locker rooms and try and make it funny. They're just weird. They're a weird place.
They're a weird place.
Yeah, let's just be done.
Just be done with it. Burn them all down.
Okay.
Okay. A little aggressive. A little aggressive. Monica Church, God bless you.
You too.
It's the last day of 2025.
We did it.
This is the end of our first year talking trash to each other.
Oh, gosh, we got many more.
Dude, we do.
But at least we talk through these issues. Nobody stormed off.
Yeah. And like, we didn't even solve problems necessarily, but like, yeah, man, we talked through them with respect and dignity. I definitely interrupted you more than you interrupted me. We both interrupted each other. Fine. We're both passionate. We're both trying to tease it out. But
Equality,
damn it, man.
Julia. Is that her name?
Who?
Who's my fan?
Oh my God, Janet.
Janice. Equality in interrupting. On this episode.
Dude, that Apple podcast review is the best. Yeah. God, she's the best.
I love you, Janet.
Yeah. Listen, we didn't even talk legislation. So the legislative session starts in like 2 weeks. So put your party pants on. We're gonna get rocking. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm super excited. Thank you for coming, Monica. Thank you for being you. And thank you for putting up with me.
Ditto.